have a concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man. And it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm going to pop a top in your honor.
Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence and knowledge.
We want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan, I always have been, and to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me, and just the support and it's been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you can feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
And welcome to episode 376 of Sports on the Hill podcast. I realize I'm a little bit low. I'm going to adjust my audio settings here. Tim, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. It's weird opening the show, but I'm excited. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so unfortunately the Caps are out, so we're not opening the show with Caps talk anymore, and we're going to talk a little bit of NBA playoffs. A game actually just went to halftime. Indiana's up 69-64 in a very close matchup. Tim and I are going to talk about that. We'll also talk about the West Coast playoffs. As well, we're going to be joined by a bunch of different friends throughout the night. We'll talk about a lot of different sports, including the Defenders. We'll talk a little Nats and Orioles as well, and a little MLS soccer, although that didn't go very well this week, and also the WNBA, which also had some ups and downs. So lots of different topics that we'll talk about all night long, lots of different guests. We'll also talk about a lot of wrestling news happened this week, so we'll have Sith back on to talk about that alongside of Champ. So we're going to have Tim talking in the first hour. We got Champ in the second hour with Sith. We've got a lot of other guests like Ryan, that E Flat guy, is going to talk about Carolina finally getting a win in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's been since 2006 for them since they've gotten a win in that round. Crazy. Yeah, it's really kind of nuts, but they're alive still and going back to Carolina, and anything can happen. So we'll talk to him. We'll also talk to our friend Adrian about the Oilers that are playing right now. Right now, some news: Zach Hyman will not return to tonight's game. He was hit with 10:43 left to go in the first period. So we'll be tracking the hockey game all night long as well. But Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I had an awesome long weekend. I got to go to the Nats game on Sunday, so that was fun in Busch Gardens. But yeah, back to work and back to it. But a lot of good sports on tonight, so
yeah,
that kind of makes it all better.
Yeah, I like this time of year where they kind of go every other. So, like, it's either an Eastern Conference or a Western Conference in hockey and in basketball. So you get kind of one of each. I actually have YouTube TV up right now, and it's got the split screen mode, so I can watch both games simultaneously on one screen. Which is a shout out to them for doing that. By the way, the Oilers scored. They are up 1-0 over the Dallas Stars. So we'll be monitoring that.
Oh, good for Adrian.
Yeah, good for Adrian. So it's a good start for sure. And well, let's talk. Give me your initial thoughts on how the first half has gone in this game, and then we can go back and talk a little bit how this series has gone.
Definitely. Well, you can tell by the score that it's been a very fast-paced and offensive first half. I would say this game is probably the closest to game one, which was extremely high scoring. So Indiana wants to run and play very fast because they're a deeper team and they just play their best when they're running and gunning and doing a lot of transition offense. And the Knicks are playing into that style, which you would think would be a disadvantage for them, but they're hanging in just because they've shot the ball incredibly well. And also Thibodeau, the Knicks coach, is famous, well, you should say infamous, because he doesn't play a lot of bench players. He's always playing starters, a ton of minutes, and you get a lot of injuries in the playoffs as a result. And in the first two games, he kind of followed his script, and the Knicks starters weren't fresh at the end. But game three, you could tell that he started to play a lot of extra bench guys that barely played the whole playoffs. And I think the Knicks are just, they look fresher this half than most of the series. And I think that helps just to play, 10 or 11 guys instead of like seven. It makes a big difference. And at least for now, the Knicks are hanging in. And I feel like this game is going to come down to the last 5 minutes, like a lot of these close NBA playoff games have been.
Yeah, I'm looking at the box score. I do like that they've continued to get. They have played 5 other players from their bench in this tonight's game too, so they haven't really gone away from it. I was a little worried that you would see it, and just because they were in foul trouble, it was a big reason why in Game 3 they did it. So I wasn't quite sure where they were going to go with that. They did see that it worked, but I'm happy that they are, still doing it. They're still playing mostly their top 6, right? It's not like a ton of bench minutes quite yet, but hopefully we'll see in the third quarter, how they'll do it. Unfortunately, the defense isn't there that I thought that they really shined. And to be fair, in the third game, it wasn't there in the first half either. They fell behind like 20.
Yeah.
But before they've had 3 road 20-point comebacks in this playoffs, which is unheard of. I don't think it's ever happened in NBA history. And their largest comeback in their history of the Knicks before this, I think, was 17 points. So they've 3 times beat their largest comeback this year, all on the road. I mean, that's just remarkable.
You can't count them out really anywhere. They've done that at home last season, but then of course they've also choked at home this offseason, this playoff. So
yeah,
it's a weird reverse split.
Yeah, because those first 2 games, they were playing fairly well in both of them, but they weren't able to get a win in either one of those games. What were some of your takeaways from the first 2 in the Garden?
Well, the first game was just a complete choke job right at the end. I mean, the Knicks dominated until 6 or 7 minutes left, and then Indiana set a record for the biggest comeback in the last minute because they were down by 9 with under a minute left. And really, it was just Indiana was unconscious from the 3-point range, but the Knicks, they didn't play good defense. They even said they took their foot off the pedal, off the gas at the end. So I think that was a mental lapse, but it's kind of hard to win a series against a good team when you just gift them a game. And I think game 2 was more of a back and forth game. It wasn't really either team getting a big lead, and just Indiana again, I think because they were a little bit fresher at the end, because their starters had a little bit more rest in the first half. They outplayed Brunson and the big Knicks players. And also, and this has been the Knicks case for years, I feel like at home there's so much pressure because they have all the celebrities and huge rabid crowd that they often are a better road playoff team, because that pressure is pretty intense on the home team too. So it's just a weird situation with their home court.
Yeah, it's just been crazy that they've. You can't count the Knicks out. I mean, even in tonight's game, there was some really great runs and some wonderful play by Indiana throughout the first half. And in theory, they should be dominating, but the Knicks are, holding, court, so to speak. Like they're sticking with it. And I've just been impressed with the resiliency, especially in the first half here, because they scored 62 points of their own, right? So I mean, I know that 67 or whatever it is not great on the defensive side, but. Or it's 69, right? Yeah, 69, 64. But still, I mean, 64 points is good on the offensive side. So at least they were able to keep it close, and they've proven that as long as it's within 10 points going into the fourth quarter, anything's possible. So it'll be an interesting game for us to monitor throughout the night for sure on the show. And let's just switch gears a little bit and talk about the West Coast. I've been impressed by the Timberwolves' ability to play the last couple of games, but I just think, man, the Thunder have been so good all season, and it's just showing why they have the MVP and it's just I don't know. It's gonna be tough for the and I feel bad because the Timberwolves have slayed some giants in these playoffs, but I think that the way that the current Thunder team is constructed is far better than the Lakers team that we saw them beat and Golden State. So what are some of your takeaways on this series so far?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Minnesota really dominated game three, and it feels like a closer series than 3-1 to me, just because we know Minnesota has the ability to not only hang in, but at times, dominate OKC. So they really should probably be 2-2. Also, going back to game one and two in OKC, Minnesota could have probably stolen one of those games. They were hanging in and let it go in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't like they were dominated or intimidated in OKC. But just what stands out and the difference in the series is the game four performance, star players versus star player. Ant-Man Edwards, Minnesota, he's a superstar player, but he didn't have a great game four, and at the end he wasn't very clutch, and they
Tim,
came
keep
up a little
going. I'm
bit
gonna be right
short.
back.
Yeah, for sure. But SGA on OKC, the MVP of this season, had like 40 points and almost a triple double. I think 10 rebounds and 9 assists or something like that. So he definitely came to play on the road, and that's often the difference in basketball because one guy matters so much. So I think it'll probably end in 5 games because I don't really see Minnesota being able to come back and win on the road after that letdown last night. But it's I think they had a chance in this series. It's just OKC has so much talent, and you can tell by their regular season record they're really hard to beat 4 times. And Denver got close, but they've got the championship experience, so that's a little bit different.
Yeah. I don't. I feel like the Thunder are just the team to beat at this point. Like I kind of don't particularly see the Knicks or the Pacers matching up well against them, but there's still a lot to be played. But I don't know. I just think that the Thunder, as they're currently constructed, are just such a tough out. But
Yeah, I think even Knicks and Pacers fans would agree. So they'll have the home court. They'll be big betting favorites. But all these teams don't have a ton of experience really in like a championship round, so
that's
it's kind of
true.
a wild card. But I mean, OKC got this far, and I really think that Denver series was their big test, and they passed it. So that I think helps them. I feel like it would be worse if they go through like 4-1, 4-1, 4-1 every series.
Yeah.
And I guess actually they swept the first round, so that should help them in the finals.
Yeah, because they've played so few games in comparison, but and they've won all of the home games. I'm just trying. That's what I was trying to figure out.
I think well, they in this
No, they
series they did,
lost. They
but
lost the
not the
very first
playoffs.
game to Denver at home, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
but I think they've won every home game since then. Yeah.
yeah. The funny thing about the whole East playoffs is the Pacers and Knicks have both been road dominant, but the West has been normal. Home teams win most of the games. So
Yeah.
okay, OKC definitely will use that home court advantage next round too, assuming they get there. I think that'll help them. Like their crowd is really good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I just heard from um CP3 is going to join a little bit later, which is totally fine. So let's So how do you see it going? I mean, you think OKC just finishes them off in five tomorrow, or do you think that Minnesota can keep this thing alive?
I think OKC will probably close it out tomorrow. I do think Minnesota is a good enough team that it'll be a very close game.
Yeah,
And it could definitely take a fourth quarter comeback, but just Minnesota, I just felt like they had to win last night to have a good chance. And in the conference finals, coming down 3-1, coming back from that is even harder than other rounds. I think that's how the stats go. So
yeah, that makes sense.
it's gonna be rough for them.
Yeah. Um, so while I have you here, I wanted to chat with you. I know it's been a rough season for like the Orioles. What are you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what are you credited? Like, this came out of nowhere to me. I thought they were going to have a step forward, and it seems to have sort of collapsed, at least initially for them. And they got a couple of wins here against Boston this past weekend, and they won yesterday against St. Louis. Right now, they're down to them in the ninth. What is some of your takeaway from some of the Orioles' early season was?
I think it's a combination of a ton of injuries and bad luck, but there's a bigger problem, which is really the team construction. So clearly they had a bad offseason, especially when you look at the results, but they have not signed a single player to a multi-year contract that is a pitcher since this resurgence 3 years ago. So basically, they've just been counting on a pretty thin group of starters that are homegrown and mostly injured right now, and then a bunch of 1 year deals and trades for guys that are not top tier starters. Um, and they let Corbin Burns go. I mean, I don't think he wanted to resign. It's not like they didn't try, but they didn't do enough with the roster to be able to pitch. And they're like second worst pitching in the whole league. So that's injuries, but just the GM stunk it up in the offseason with getting more pitching. And then injuries have also hurt the starting position players too. So they've had every outfielder hurt. They're playing like their fourth and fifth outfielder right now. Um, Second shortstop and third baseman have all been injured this season. So they have like five or six starters on the injury list right now. So also, I think their batting is pretty middle of the pack, but to really the Orioles were supposed to have one of the best offenses and then at least average pitching. That was their formula, and instead they have terrible pitching and average offense. So it's not going to work out. I do think they'll get better in the second half just because they got a lot of injured guys are coming back, but probably they can't, turn it around and to get to a 500. And I do think they fired the manager and they'll probably fire the GM in the offseason and try someone better and maybe get a more proven experienced guy. Because they've got to just spend money. I mean, in the AL East, they're always fourth in spending, and that's tough because you've got Boston and New York, but also Toronto spends a lot of money, and they're a decent team. So they've got to spend money, and they've got to get someone who knows how to get more free agents and build around a good young core. But they're just kind of wasting it this year.
So unfortunately, Dallas just scored a goal on a power play. They had some good passing play where they got all the way around the horn, if you will, and got all the way to the guy on the other side, and he shoots it, and it kind of goes 5-hole, and 13:03 left in the second. We've got a brand new game tied 1-1 there, and the second half just started in the Knicks in Indiana game. Indiana's up 73-64 right now, and it was a battle for the ball. Looks like the Knicks may be holding on to it.
No, it's Indiana ball.
Oh, it is? Okay.
I'm a little ahead, but yeah, Indiana looks good to start this half for sure.
Oh, yeah. I see it now. Oh, yeah. Yep. It goes off of him. Anyway, it's interesting. Dallas has had much better sustained zone time in this hockey game than Edmonton. So it'll be interesting to see if Edmonton can salt the ice again. This game is in Edmonton, and Edmonton's up 2-1 in that series, if people did not know. So yeah, it's lots of different playoffs coming up here. They're playing the Orioles' upcoming schedule. They got this one against St. Louis that's happening tonight, and then they got one tomorrow, and then they play the White Sox over the weekend, and then they go to Seattle next week. Any thoughts on the upcoming week for them?
Well, I'll be at one of the games in Seattle because I'm gonna visit my brother and go there. Obviously, it would be nice if the Orioles were better, but Seattle has a good team. I know they're in first place and they have a nice stadium, so should still be fun. But
That's really cool.
yeah, obviously was hoping the Orioles would be more competitive.
Have you ever seen an Orioles game there before?
Yeah, but it was the old Kingdome, their old stadium that was indoor and
Ah,
not nearly as nice. Back in the 90s, remember Rafael Palmeiro?
yes,
Those
Rafa.
teams, yeah, it was during that period. And
Nice.
the Orioles won and Rafi homered before we knew he was a roiding douchebag.
Right.
But so I was, happy at whatever, 12 years old, 10 years
Gosh.
old.
Pacers going on a little run here. They're up 76-64 now, 9:26 left.
You
But
know the Knicks are gonna have a push though.
yeah,
Just
for sure. It's gonna be a back and forth affair for sure. Um, God, I can't believe how good Halliburton has become, Like it's
yeah, it's I'm guessing you're not a Stephen A. Smith fan, but just his series preview was like Halliburton's not a superstar.
Hmm.
Knicks in five.
Yeah,
Like he probably saw that, at some point.
right.
Someone's got to show him that. So
Yeah. It's sad because I really wanted the Knicks to win this series, but I don't know. I think the Pacers are a really good team. I just don't know if they're good enough to be a Thunder. Or I honestly, in a weird way, think that the scrappy Knicks would be a more interesting matchup.
it,
But we'll see.
the NBA wants that because there's three small market teams, and then the Knicks are like one of the biggest teams in the league. So I think TV wants that. But I agree with you. I think OKC is obviously a heavy favorite, but for some reason I feel like the Knicks have a little bit better chance. Um, just they would probably have a ton of road fans too because they travel well. So
Yeah, for sure.
you can see in this game, you got Ben Stiller there and Spike
Yeah,
and a bunch of guys went out to Indy.
yeah. I hope they find a way to come back in this game. I'd really love this game to series to get tied 2-2 and go long. There's just I hate it when series go 3-1 all the time, and in the championship rounds, like where then you're like some of those earlier rounds in a lot of these playoffs seemingly are better. They go 7 or back and forth, and unfortunately, it
Yeah,
happens sometimes in championship rounds. But so Edmonton's now on the power play though, so that's a
so
situation
they'll get
where
one here.
I do want it to go up 3-1 because I hate the city of Dallas. In every sport, we've gone over this. Obviously, I was born during a Cowboys Redskins game, so I hate them. I hate that the both basketball teams, WNBA and NBA teams, got the number 1 seed this year, which seems rigged. And I
Oh,
hate,
I didn't even know that for WNBA. Definite
yeah,
rigging.
yeah. So it's the same owner too, and he said that they were going to take care of him. Like, I think.
I mean, they should punish him more for trading a superstar player because
No, I think that they wanted the superstar player to go to the Lakers, and so every time that happens, whoever trades the number 1 player
yeah,
gets the number
they
1
get
seed.
yeah, that's true because this is the third or fourth time.
The fourth time this has happened in the last
Yeah,
5 years. It's like,
it's definitely rigged. I mean,
yeah. Oh, there it is. Goal, Oilers.
nice. Who got it?
I think it may be Corey Perry. God damn, that guy has played in more game. It is, and that guy has played in more games than any other team in the NHL right now since 2000.
That's crazy. Because yeah, he's like really old and always in the playoffs
And he's
deep. So
usually in the champion. He was in like four
yeah,
championship rounds in a row. So like, think about the number of games that would take to get there.
yeah,
Yeah, it's wild. Just absolutely insane. Yeah, I saw that stat. He has 16 more games than the next highest team.
yeah. That seems unreal, but I'm sure they did the math on it.
Yeah, no, I saw. I, I did the math too. I was like, holy shit, because he was at like at one point he was like three championships in a row with three different teams.
Yeah, and he's not getting hurt ever, too.
Right. And now he's
Also
this is a
impressive.
fourth different team, and he has 6 goals in this playoffs. It's not like that's not like you know.
Yeah,
Um,
he he's a machine.
yeah, right. Nugent Hopkins gets his ninth point of the series, second assist of the game. So Knicks are still down 66-76, and the Pacers are at the line right now. About 9 minutes left in the third quarter, and. I think that the Orioles may have just lost the game. I think I just got that update. So I'm sorry, Tim.
Yeah, it's all right. A 3 game win streak is about all they can handle right now. So
There you go. There
I
you
don't
go.
know. Hopefully it'll happen again, but I'm not super confident soon.
Yeah. Champ, if you want to join in, you can join in as well. We could talk a little bit of Defenders and preview the upcoming
Right.
attractions and stuff like that. So welcome on, Champ, and welcome Sith, who's been lurking in on Twitch as well. I appreciate all of our lurkers as always, and I know that this isn't going to be like the most watched episode since all the DC sports teams are out of the playoffs, but I really appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight and being a part of it. We only have a couple weeks left of this show. We're doing this week, we're doing next week, which will preview the Defenders playoff and recap going to the game. And then after that, it's kind of up to the Defenders on how many more shows we do. Every time they win a round, we'll recap their win and go for an extra episode. And if they don't win the playoff round, next week might be the last episode of it. I can do still pop-ups and stuff on stream on Twitch, so definitely stay tuned for that. But Champ, exciting week. We're both wearing matching shirts tonight, which I love.
Nice.
But
We didn't
Champ,
plan that, by the way. We didn't plan that.
we did not. So, but Champ, how are you doing tonight? And it's been a really exciting week for wrestling.
It has been an exciting week. You had Saturday night's main event and Battleground all in Tampa, and then Raw closed out in Tampa. NXT was supposed to actually close out Tampa, but they canceled the show, and they're currently in the Performance Center right now. It's a pretty good show so far. Nothing, it's been a decent show. A good fallout from Battleground. Battleground was a really good PLE, and also over in Japan, Best of the Super Juniors is about to wrap up the block stage on Thursday. The A block ended their time. They ended their block time on today, the day that this is recording, and Kosei Fujita, who is a member of TMDK, advanced to the finals after he got a win in the final block match, and then Hiromu Takahashi, who basically controlled his own destiny, lost to Bullet Club War Dogs Robbie X, and therefore that put Kosei Fujita into the finals. Now he'll be sitting back watching on Thursday to see who he will be facing on Sunday, June 1st, to determine who will be the winner of the Best of Super Juniors tournament. If Kosei Fujita wins the tournament, he will become the youngest to win the tournament in the tournament's history. He's currently at 22 years of age. There's never been a winner that's been that young in the history of that tournament in 31 previous tournaments. And he has a chance to make history. But a big week in wrestling, and a pretty decent week in DC sports, to be honest with you. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. We've got a minute here before CP3 joins us, and so why don't we talk a little WNBA news, and then when CP3 joins, we can continue our coverage and talk a little more Defenders.
Absolutely. So the Mystics started off the season 2-0, so it was looking very promising for them. Sonia Citron was starting to look really good coming in. She was the number 3 overall pick for the Mystics, but unfortunately, they went to the West Coast and shit the bed. They went 0-3 on their West Coast road trip. They lost to the Golden State Valkyries 76-74. Then they faced Vegas, the Aces, and lost to them 75-72. And then they went to the desert, to Phoenix, and lost to the Mercury 68-62. Now, Citron scored in double digits in all 3 of those games. She had scored 10 points versus Golden State. She had 19 points against the Aces, and then she had 14 points against Phoenix. Now, Brittany Sykes, who's also been scoring pretty good at the start of the season, had a big game against Golden State. 30 points scored in almost 40 minutes of action for Sykes. She did not play against the Aces. I think they gave her the night off for the Aces game, and then she only scored 10 points against Phoenix. So it seems as if Sykes and Citron can keep on the scoring, and everybody else can start to step up with their scoring, and the defense can start to step up a bit. I think the Mystics can do some things this season for now, but at least 2 of the 3 games on this West Coast road trip were close games. So it wasn't like it's not like they're getting blown out. They're playing very competitively in these first 5 games of the season. Yes, they're only 2-3, but they're very competitive, and it seems as if they're starting to figure it out. Hopefully, they continue to be that team and can continue to push forward. They have 2 games coming up this week, and they're both here at home at Care First Arena in Southeast DC. They have the Indiana Fever, which means Caitlin Clark. So you know that game is going to be highly regarded.
No, she's hurt.
Pretty much. Oh, she's hurt?
Yeah. Yeah, so she's hurt, and ticket sales have dropped. But I mean, what do you expect?
Sure. Yeah, they know.
Wait, was that game going to be moved, or was it going to still be played at the?
It was supposed to be in Baltimore randomly. I was going to ask about that, but yeah, they were supposed to play in Baltimore. But
yeah, I just know it's at home. I know it's at home. It didn't say where at home, but it says it's supposed to be at home. And then they also have the Liberty at home this week as well. So they have 2 home games coming up after coming back from an 0-3 West Coast road trip. The Liberty were a team that ended up eliminating the Mystics pretty much from the playoffs last season. So this is definitely like a revenge game for the Mystics, and it's at home. So hopefully the home crowd will be behind them to help them will them to getting that revenge on them for keeping them out of the playoffs last season. And hopefully Citron and Sykes can really lead this team to a big victory to get things back on track and hopefully get them above 500 through the first 7 games of the season. But yeah, that West Coast trip was a little bit tough for them, but either way, it still showed a lot of character that they were in close games with 2 teams, one of them being the Mercury, who's a WNBA original, and the Aces, who have been one of the most dominant teams in the WNBA over the last couple of years. To play both of those teams very close should show you that this is a team that should be on the rise this season.
For sure. With that, I see that Carol has joined, and so we'll bring him on and get his thoughts on this NBA game. Right now, the Knicks are at the line shooting 2, but I know that Carol has become more of an NBA fan, or at least watching more games due to potential parlays.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the reason I watch the NBA, because they're scoring a lot, so you get a lot of opportunities to hit some of these parlay bets. I got 4 going right now on this game with the streaky shooting that's going on, and these conference finals have been unpredictable. Semifinals I had some good stretches, but these conference finals in both the East and the West have just been totally unpredictable. You don't know who's going to be hot and who's going to play terrible. One game you see Oklahoma City getting blown out by 40, and then they come and handle their business like nothing happened the next game. So yeah, I haven't watched NBA in a while, but it's definitely interesting to see the the ebb and flows of the momentum, that there is no true momentum in this NBA anymore. It's whoever's shooting the best that night got a chance to win, and that's about it.
Yeah, this Knicks game has been pretty crazy. Indiana's been playing well, but there's still the Knicks are hanging in there and keeping it close, and you can kind of feel like there might be a fourth quarter surge here. What are your thoughts on the game so far, CP3?
I can't call it. I mean, Indiana's come out on top. They came out, jumped out. I think they had like an 8 to 10 point lead. Next thing you know, the Knicks, they came back with a push. They're trying to figure out their lineup. Karl Anthony Towns has been playing uh, decent. Last game he spurred the 20 point comeback, so they're trying to find a way to keep him and Robinson and Hart on the court at the same time, because when they don't, for some reason they're having some type of chemistry issues. When Towns is on the court, they're +10. When Brunson is on the court, they're +8. But when Towns and Brunson on the court together, they're -12. So it's it like you said, you can't figure it out what's going on. But Thibodeau is doing this thing, trying to find the right combination to counter what Indiana's doing, because that Halliburton kid, he almost had a triple double at halftime. He had 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists at half. So I'm mad I didn't take the triple double parlay like I should have. I looked at it and thought about it, but I didn't. I wish I did take it now. He's still 2 rebounds short, but it's still third quarter. It's a close game, so if you do have some bets on this game, that's a good thing, because whenever it's a blowout, they start sitting people and you're not going to hit your numbers. So the fact that it's still competitive and they're playing good ball, just stick with it. Don't cash out your bets early. I made that mistake last week and missed out on like $50 because I got scared and cashed out early and should have stuck with it. But I got a feeling it's going to come down to the wire again, because it's a different feel and a tempo. But the momentum swings so much, like with New York, the way they did Boston. They came back from 20 down, 3 times in that series to beat them. And then Indiana does it to them on their home court, and then they come back and do it to Indiana on it. So I don't know, bro. I'm just trying to win some money on these parlays with all these crazy shooting games, man.
It is pretty wild. Yeah, 3 times on the road this playoffs, the Knicks have come back down 20. It's crazy. Knicks have never done it before once, no less 3 times in a season. So it's been wild for sure. Have you been watching any of the hockey playoffs as well, or are you just watching the NBA so far?
I have to say, once the Caps got put out, I haven't watched as much. I saw that Florida was up 3-0. I put a bet on that for them to close out, and then Carolina messing around and win. So I'm not putting any more bets on that, because I don't want to see I'm not the same mentality of you, as that if Carolina goes, you'll be like, okay, well, at least we lost to the eventual finals, team. My motto is, you beat us, I don't want to see you do nothing. I'm rooting for the other team because I hate you because you beat us and knocked us out.
Right, I get it. That makes total sense. A lot of Caps fans feel the same way. So,
Yeah.
we have a friend of the podcast, Ryan, who's a Canes fan. If I had no fans that I knew on either team, I probably might feel that way. But I can't tell you a single. I've never met a Florida fan of that team. So,
I can't say that I have either. I've been down to Florida a couple of times during the hockey season, but I haven't heard anyone. And the fact that they got Brad Marchand now makes it
I
even
know,
harder for me
right?
to
You
root.
gotta hate
And,
that guy.
and another that cost me a bet one night, because I had a bet that I was going to put him to score the game-winning goal, and he scored it, but I couldn't consciously choose him to win, and I cost myself money on that one. So I'm still upset about that. But I mean, Carolina, they have a great being able. They was a metropolitan team. They know how to match up against the Caps. They had a good formula. It worked, and unfortunately, we weren't able to overcome their pressure and them taking away time and space, and we couldn't take advantage of the power plays when we had the opportunity. But I mean, not taking nothing away from them. They're a solid team. I just didn't want to lose to them. That's all.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm bummed because you never know. We matched up better in a lot of ways against Florida than Carolina
Yeah,
does, but
yeah,
we
we
matched up
did.
badly. It's like rock paper scissors, right? It's like we beat Florida every time. Carolina
Yeah,
got our number, and
I
you
was thinking the same thing. I was like, we could have. face
I don't know
Florida
if we
against
would have won the
Atlanta.
series. I think we would have lost Game 7 at home. I think it would have been heartbreaking. That's how I see it. Like I think it would have been closer than this has been, but I don't know if we'd
I
pull it off.
mean, I don't know. Florida has a similar style as Carolina, but they're not as effective as Carolina with the puck possession game and their pressure game. With Florida, they do have pressure, but they don't play the constant pressure game like Carolina, and you can definitely catch them slipping. And if you take Kachuk out the mix, and Wilson can negate him, then they're pretty much an average team. But like I say, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I'm not going to go into that. I would have loved for Ovi to put a exclamation mark on this season by making it to the finals and possibly winning it. But it is what it is. He'll be back next year for another season, and we'll see what the future brings because the team the year before, scraped in to get in, was the last team to get in. This year they were the first team to get in, won the Metro, almost won the President's Trophy, which really doesn't mean anything, but just to have that swing in a 1 to 2 year span. And now some of the prospects we have in Hershey, and we saw what happened with that this year, integrating some of the younger players. Excuse me, getting more of that speed into the lineup. Protus had a breakout season. Now you got his younger brother.
Yeah, his
Uh,
little brother. We might get the duo. That would be crazy.
If we can get something working like that, Protus, when it's been up, he's a big guy that got 30 goals for the first time in his career. He's what plus 39, and he plays 200 feet of hockey. I haven't seen his brother, but I've heard and sort of outstanding numbers he's put up. So you bring him up. Connor McDavid continues to ascend. He said he wants to play center next year, which I think would be better for him because you saw him kind of fade away towards the end of the season when we could have used some of that scoring that we saw early in the season. But I think when he's more comfortable at center, and if we can get him at his natural position and bring up some of these younger prospects that's shining down below, being that they have the same similar system, I'm thinking we should see this team play even better next year.
I think so too. It's funny because there's so many fans out there that were like, "It's an end of the window. This was our last chance for Ovechkin." I was like, a lot of people didn't even have us making the playoffs this year. Like,
Pretty
yeah,
much.
this was supposed to be the stepping stone year, and I would say we took a step. We won a playoff round. Like, that's better. Like, yeah. We played Carolina tough in that last game. I think that it was. I really honestly feel like if our defense was not injured, we would have.
Yeah, if we would have got had the people back for like Protus, he didn't come in until what game 2 or 3. You still had Ferrar. I don't even get me try to pronounce his name. 40,
I know.
42. He wasn't there, so I think even though the team played well and they had their moments where they had the deficiencies, but having that core locked in, that chemistry that they know where everybody's going to be, they know how to work together, play together, clear the zone. And because you saw that happen a number of times where Carolina with the pressure, they were doing trying to get it up the wall or trying to, indirectly get it out the zone. But because they weren't familiar enough with each other, they didn't know where to be. And you saw a lot of flubbing of the puck. Some of it was the bad ice, but you saw a lot of missed passes or timing was just off a little bit. And due to the pressure that Carolina was putting on, along with the not having the same chemistry and knowing exactly where everybody's going to be at, I think that just added up to, be too much for the Capitals to overcome.
Yeah, for sure. A little scoring update here. The Pacers are up by 5. The Knicks just got a big rebound there. About 3.5 minutes left in the third. Edmonton's still up 2-1 over Dallas here with just a minute left in the second period. And the Seattle Mariners just got a run. They lead the Nationals 2-0 in the bottom of the first inning.
Ah, damn.
So it's crazy that the Mariners are playing both the Nats and the Orioles upcoming. So Tim's going to go to a game between the Mariners and the O's. You said it was later this week or next week, Tim?
Next Tuesday. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be there, right?
A week from today. It's crazy.
Yeah, 2 series after the Nats, I guess.
Yeah, but that's still wild. I guess it's Tuesday versus the DMV.
It's 3-0 now. Just hit a solo home run for the Mariners.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Mitchell Parker ain't having a good start.
Nats have been struggling. Nats have been struggling. I know in the last series against the Giants, James Wood, who's been on a power surge, went 2 for 12 in the series against the Giants. He had a home run and 3 RBIs, but really struggled against the Giants, who took 2 or 3 from the Nats here at home. and so they're taking those struggles across the country for a 2-series West Coast trip. Seattle first, and then they have the Diamondbacks after this in the desert. So they're gonna have to figure it out and figure it out quick.
Yeah, it's been a combination of things. Josh Bell, horrible start to the season. Dylan Cruz trying to find his rhythm and then getting injured. I didn't really agree with him having him at the bottom of the lineup. I didn't really see the advantageous nature of that, but I'm a ride with Davey on that. But CJ, he's been streaky, but he's been putting up good numbers, but it hasn't been consistent. Um, I guess some of the surprises is Garcia. He's been stepping his game up in the field and at the plate. And the third baseman Tanner, I've been impressed with his work at the plate along with his work in the field. He's come through with some clutch hits, and I believe he's even had a walk off. And my biggest issue has been with the mid relievers pitchers. They
Yeah,
haven't been
those
able to
guys. I
hold a
don't know
lead.
what those guys are
Yeah,
doing, man.
it's
Jesus
been
Christ.
bad. And then what's the starter? The oldest dude. I can't remember his name because he always sucked. But it's just we got to get the pitching locked in. That's been one of the staples of the Nationals. That's what made them the powerhouse that got them to the World Series to win it. And Jake Irvin, he's pitching well. And we have some good starts here and there, but we need the guys to get more consistent with it. And Mitchell Parker is one of the key players that they need to get locked in. And this isn't a good start to this outing. He's already at 20 pitches in the first inning with only one out.
Mackenzie Gore's another one that's definitely got to get locked in. He's the ace of the staff, man. He's the ace. He's the top guy. He's got to get locked in. He had that weird start a couple weeks ago when he went 3 1/3 and had 10 hits. And that still ended up winning that game. It was against the Orioles, I believe it was. I'm not sure, but he had that weird start, and yet they still won. It's just like, okay, if your ace is playing that way, that's not a good sign for your pitching staff, man. He's got to be the one to set the example. And ever since he had that brilliant start against the Phillies to open the season, where he had 13 strikeouts, it's like now all of a sudden he's gone pedestrian.
Yeah, I think Jake Irvin is definitely taking a step to say that he is more of the number one of the staff just because of the consistency. I believe the last 7 starts, he's won at least 6 in the third. So the game he pitched the other day was 3 hits, no runs for 8 innings. I thought they was going to try to put him out there for the complete game, but they didn't. So he's been definitely locked in. He's one for sure. When I put up 5 strikeouts on my parlay, he gets me those 5 strikeouts. So, but the Nets still find themselves. I mean, they're only 5 or 6 games under 500. So, I mean, that's still pretty decent to where this team, is in a rebuilding process. I think if the season's still young, we've seen what happens over time in the season. Going back to, I believe the anniversary was a couple of days ago when they had the worst start, 19 and 31, and before they turned it around in 2019. So, I mean, being only 5 games under 500. Still early. You got plenty of talent that just has to get locked in and understand what it means to be a big league player. Like you said, James Woods, he's get locked in and then have a good stretch of games. And then, like you say, he'll disappear in the series, go 2 for 13. And, you're wondering what's going on. I think Davey still hasn't really figured out the right combination for the lineup. Woods hitting second. It's been pretty decent with him in that spot. But I think I think it's still some shuffling to do in that lineup to get it more formidable, being that they don't have it with Josh Bell not playing the way that we normally used to seeing him play at the plate. I think that's really causing the issue with the lineup, because if you don't have that, stud that they have to worry about, then it really makes a whole different pitching dynamic when you're in there, and they can pitch differently when they know they got a older slugger that's not hitting anything right now.
Yeah. Adrian joined us in chat. He'll be joining us a little bit later. He's saying that I could listen to you talk about the 2019 Washington Nationals all day.
Bro, don't get me lying. I got the DVD set and everything.
Exactly.
What a
Actually,
save. What a
Carol,
save.
you can't see it, but the logo is up. The World Series champions whenever we talk about the Nats, I always have that up, and I always have this pillow right behind me to commemorate. Close game right now. Knicks have brought it within 6, 87-93. They're still down 6 with just under 2 minutes left, but they did steal the ball there. And they're trying to cut it down to 4 or maybe even 3. I know that Adrian's watching this hockey game. It's still 2-1 going into the third. I want to real quickly, let's talk about the defenders. Let me just get the graphics all set up correctly for the next segment. And I'm super excited for us to be able to let me see.
I didn't realize it was a Friday night game. I thought it was like a Saturday or Sunday game. I was sitting there thinking like, okay, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with the podcast and this, that, and third. But it's a Friday game. I was like, okay, I don't have to worry about the podcast.
Yep, there you go. So I pulled up the graphic here so people can see us at the game last year, and I'm happy that we get to redo this once again and make it an annual tradition, and it's going to be an interesting battle. According to ChatGPT, we cannot, no matter what happens in this game, get first place. And not that it really matters, because we're going to have to play in Battlehawks country, regardless of what happens. Because, Carol, I don't know if you know this, but there was a scheduling conflict with Audi Field that weekend. So they decided it was just going to be played there in St. Louis, no matter what. It doesn't matter.
What?
So unfortunate that we can't get a home playoff game for sure. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this matchup, like what we show and what we don't show going into a potential matchup the following week with them in the playoffs. But Carol, have you been able to watch any of the defenders this season?
I've watched off and on. I've watched flipped on the last couple of games, and unfortunately, their defense has been lacking from all the performances that I've seen. They've been able to, they've been able to come back and pull some victories out of nowhere. But this past game, they almost did the same thing, being down 9 points in the last 2 minutes of the game, forcing the other team made a boneheaded play, and they were able to recover a fumble and get all the way down the field to get the touchdown, but wasn't able to get the timed 3-point conversion. They were a yard away from it from tying the game, but they definitely got to step their defense up, being that it's Greg Williams' son. I can't remember his name. He's been hit or miss. He's just like his daddy. He believes in the blitz, all or nothing, and I think in the UFL he has to adapt his calls a little bit more, especially with the way they run the game, that you can't have that either I'm going to sit back and play zone and see what happens, or I'm going to send everybody and see what happens. You got to have a good mixture and figure out the right the right combination. I think he's still trying to find his way, and hopefully they can get it together with this last game headed into the playoffs.
Yeah, so people want to watch the game that we're going to be at. It's 8 o'clock on Fox, nationally televised game. We are one game behind the Battlehawks, but I think that they have, again, the tiebreaker to win. But again, it doesn't really matter who gets first or second. Now that we know where the location is going to be, we're just going to have
Robbie,
to...
Metro's about to suck that day. You know that, right?
Yeah, probably.
No, there ain't no probably. It's going to suck.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that.
We're going to be heading down there in the middle, like towards the tail end of rush hour when everybody's trying to go home. It's about to suck.
That's good. I'd rather go that direction. People are going the other way.
Yeah, true.
That's not going to be the case for me. I'm coming out of Virginia going into DC, so it's not.
No, but if you get into the metro itself, though, the metro, everyone's going out.
Yeah, I'm getting on that Vienna, so I just got to get the Metro Center and transfer. So it shouldn't be that bad. I'll probably leave about 5:30, get down there early.
Yeah, I'm not going to probably get there too early just because I have to watch the kids till 5. But, I'll get there right around 6 or leave around 6. But, yeah,
by the way, I don't know if everybody heard me just yell out what, but I just watched the end of NXT, and JC Jane beat Stephanie Vaquer, and she's the new NXT Women's Champion.
Oh, wow.
Who in the hell made that fucking decision? That's what I want to know. Oh, I got so much to say about this on Sunday. Boy, oh boy. And I can't wait for Sip to come on here because I want to hear what he got to say about that shit.
Yeah, that'll be good. We'll get an instant reaction in a couple of minutes. All right, so this is going to be the matchup. We will definitely talk about it next week on the show. It's cool that all four of us are here right now, and we'll all be together on Friday. I might do like a little mini live stream at halftime or pregame, both on, I might do a Facebook Live one. I might also do a Twitch remote live stream as well. They won't be simultaneous because I don't have Restream, or I haven't figured it out. Maybe there is a way to restream remotely, but I'll look into that. And but hopefully we'll get some footage and some pictures, and we'll definitely recap it next week for sure. But I'm gonna stop the screen shade there, and I'm gonna ask you, Carol, anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight before we let you go?
Let's see. There's so much going on. Just be on the lookout. I got a lot of things going with the consulting firm. I'm actually headed to a new podcasting studio out in Baltimore. So I'm working on some things on the podcasting side of things and on the financial professional side of things. Be on the lookout. Go follow the page of SportsOTHP Consultant LLC on Instagram. Also on Facebook. You can follow my page, Carol Porter, or my financial professional page, Carol Porter, agent with New York Life. Just Google me. You'll find it all. But definitely got a lot of things in the works, working in the community, actually starting to work with some of the schools, getting into some of the high school. I've actually been approached by a couple of the high school in my area and finding out that I do podcasting and sports coverage. So might dibble dabble into the high school thing if I have time. But right now the plate is just too full. But if anyone needs any financial services, retirement planning, just had a baby, college funding, all of that good stuff, and stuff you don't want to talk about, that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm actually taking my exam on Friday to get fully registered, so I'll be able to do any and everything involved in stock market, variable market, anything tied into the stock market. So just be on the lookout. Appreciate you guys, putting in the work. I know I've been away handling my other business, trying to get some things locked in. I'm actually in the talks with Santana Moss now to have a sit down. He's starting to pick up with his work with the off season, so it's been hard to get that. And I just found out that I'm close to getting access to Angel Reese, with her and Magic Johnson and the financial literacy initiative they have. So be on the lookout. Might see if I can parlay some financial business into some special guests on Sports OTHP. And like I said, I'm speaking with a podcasting studio out in Baltimore to see what's good. We've been around for a while. Folks know our name, and we put out a good product. Might not be the mainstream anonymous source clickbait BS that most folks want to watch nowadays, but there is a market for what we do, and I haven't given up on it, even though I'm not around as much. But just be on the lookout, man. Got a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on, and just because I'm not in front of the camera, don't think that moves ain't being made behind the scenes.
That's why you're the CEO. And well, I'm so happy that you're back on the show. 10 seasons, Carol, we've done this. It's pretty amazing.
It's crazy, crazy.
It's a cool thing for us to look back on.
Dog, I don't remember the last time I heard a motherfucker say Google me. Jesus Christ, Carol. What are you doing?
That's all I can do, bro. I got too many pages and too many things I got going on to name it all. So I just say Google #CP3.
Right. And if you want the links, actually, if you go to sportsothp.com and click the Team SportsOTHP button, it's got all the links for all of us, Tim, Champ, CP3, myself. So it's a fast way to find a lot of this stuff. The Instagram, I may have to need to update on that page. I'm going to update that whole sports. Yeah, the whole SportsOTHP website and Web and Games website are both being updated this summer. So just a couple episodes left again on Sports on the Hill podcast. We'll be back next week for sure. Might be the last episode unless the Defenders can win some playoff games. And so yeah, it's But CP3, it's so good to see your face again. I can't wait to see you in person on Friday. And hopefully the Defenders will get a fun way to win and close out the season. At least it won't matter one way or another too much, but it'll be fun to just catch a football game in the supporter section with you. And we'll talk to you soon.
No doubt. Yeah, they better win them. I'm taking time off from studying. They better win the damn games. I got my exam at 2:30 on Saturday, so they better win.
It's good to blow off some steam before. I believe in that, you know?
Oh, yeah, true that. But if I'm giving up time studying, they better make it worth my while, damn it.
For sure.
He keeping it real.
I love it. I love it.
I got to get this license, baby. Got to get this license, get that money, baby.
Right, exactly. All right, we'll catch you later, CP3.
All right, man. Y'all be easy. Have a good rest of the show, man.
Thank you.
All right. Out.
All right, Tim, I'll let you go next. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
No, don't Google me, but I can't beat that outro from Carol, but it'd be awesome to see you guys on Friday.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited. I'm happy that this now becomes a thing, right? Yeah, if you do it once, it's just a one time, and now it's now an annual tradition. So we'll have to keep that alive. So, but I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, we'll definitely talk more next week as well.
Yeah, have a good show, guys. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya.
All right, with that, I'm gonna switch our graphics over to the no spot.
Hey, Sis, fix your camera, dude.
you gotta.
Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm going to jump out and come right back.
Okay.
Yeah, you do that.
And then if not, I can show you a button to click. So, but you try that first. But we're going to talk about some wrestling in just a moment. But this basketball game is still
crazy. You know what's crazy, Robbie? I don't mean to interrupt you. It's crazy that we started talking about the Defenders, and I wrote down all these stats and got prepped, and didn't get a chance to talk about none of it.
Oh no! Okay, well, yeah. No, well now we have time. Go for it.
Yeah, we do have time. So, so what was crazy about this game is like after this game, the Defenders only had one other game to go, and they decided to sit Teamu in the second half of this game. After he went 14 of 22, 163 yards and a touchdown, his quarterback rating was 101.1. And he's currently in the race for league MVP with the quarterback from Michigan, who's actually been injured the last couple games. So he's kind of pulling away a little bit. He currently leads the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns as Teamu. But Mike D'Aurelio, I think is his name, D'Aurelio, went 17 of 29, 206 yards and a touchdown, tried to bring them back, was unable to do so. But as Carol alluded to earlier on, this defense has been struggling the last 4 games. It's been a long stretch of this defense not being the typical DC Defenders defense. They've been giving up a lot of big plays. The run game has been the run defense has been getting gashed by teams. This team right here, the Houston ran for 107 yards as a team and a touchdown, while the DC Defenders team ran for 87 yards and a touchdown. Jalen McClendon, 21 of 30, 232 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 114.9 quarterback rating. So he actually played very well. Cornell Powell is proving to be wide receiver 1 for this Defenders defense, this Defenders offense, and appears to be like the favorite target of Teamu. He had 8 catches on 13 targets, 104 yards, and caught 2 touchdowns. So he's going to be a big key contributor to this run into the playoffs, especially because there's only 2 games in the playoffs: your conference championship and then the league championship. So it's no dress rehearsal. There is no, oh, we lose, we get them back next week. No, you have to beat the Battlehawks in a couple weeks. Otherwise, you're out, and you're just going to be watching them play play at the Alamo or in wherever the UFL championship is going to be. But the defense has got to get it together. They're a defense that's known to be able to not only create havoc with quarterbacks, create pressure, but also disrupt the run and generate turnovers. And the last 4 games, they haven't really generated a lot of turnovers. And I think that's what's been hurting them the most, is not getting those turnovers and getting those additional possessions for the offense to go out and really do what they got to do, because this offense is starting to gel a lot more. And Teamo still is not the most accurate quarterback. He had a couple throws in this game where he was like, they were like high percentage throws, and yet he was missing them. Like one, he had the a receiver really like pretty much right there, and he threw it high to him. It was like he was like 5 yards away, and it's like, wait, like any Joe Schmo can make that throw, and you're a professional quarterback, and he's 5 yards away, and you almost sail it on him. He barely got his hands on it, and he's 5 yards away from you. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
But that's something they're gonna have to work on. And then the one thing we're gonna have to keep an eye on when we go to the game this week, this Friday, is Jordan Ta'amu gonna play the entire game, or are they going to play him one half? Or the bigger question, is he going to play at all, or is Mike going to end up playing the entire game to rest up Teamo for that playoff game in St. Louis against the Battlehawks? That's going to be the big question for this coaching staff, is are they going to play Teamo and possibly put him at risk for injury before the XFL Conference Championship, or are they going to sit him down and not play him when they got to play this game out against the very team they got to play in the conference championship? That's the big question.
Yeah, I agree. And what are they going to show them, right? What of the playbook? Like, how much are you going to open up? Because we've already beaten them in St. Louis, so we already know we can do it, right? So we ended their 11-game, I believe, 7-game home win streak that they were on. And so that's huge that we already know we can beat them. We can do that. So we don't need to go out there and show them. In fact, showing them less might be more in this game, And you try to go out there with a completely different game plan, maybe even catch them off guard because you're using a different quarterback than everything you've done up into this point, and then beat them. Then they think, oh, we can't beat them either way, and then they don't know what's going to happen, right? So, there could be a lot to not showing a lot in that. The other thing is, the Battlehawks are going to want to win that playoff game because it's already been decided that's the location of the championship. So they want to get a home championship game.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
because they know it's in their backyard. They know that their fan, if it's a championship game and they're in it, that stadium is going to be absolutely packed. It's going to be loud. It's going to be ruckus. It's going to be boisterous. And so you definitely want to have that championship game, but they got to go through DC to be able to do it. And if DC can beat them in the season finale, that's going to really give this team a lot of momentum going into that playoff game, knowing that they can beat them in St. Louis. They've done it before. Why can't they do it again? And that's basically the mindset, and that's basically the focus that this team has to have going into that game.
So I think Sith is joining with a different device. So Sith, feel free to turn on your camera and mic to see if it's working, and we can switch our cameras over if it is. I don't know if he can hear us. I see that he is logged in on that device. But yeah, it's been an interesting time of the year. I just want to give a scoring update right now. Edmonton's still up 2-1 over Dallas, so 17:45 left in the third. Indiana is up 111-96. They're kind of pulling away a little bit with just under 10 minutes. And we'll see here if the Knicks can score. The step back jumper. Oh, and he drains the three. What a shot there to cut it to 111-99. And Seth, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Apparently my microphone is unmuted, which is a good thing. Video has stopped on my phone. Oh,
I'm gonna send a signal to see if it can, if something pops up. Does that pop up?
Okay, allow.
There we go.
There we go.
Cool. Okay.
I could remote send it for your iPhone, which is cool. So I will take it.
This is why Robbie can get freelance jobs and not be unemployed while I'm still struggling.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, the right job is coming for you. I believe in it.
I almost thought I was about to lose out on my Lyft gig because I didn't know this. And y'all, here's something that if you plan on getting into rideshare, you need to know this. If you have a car Apparently, this is something that went into law in Virginia. I didn't know this. If your car is older than 10 years and you do ride share, you have to get a Virginia safety inspection every 6 months and not every year like it normally is. I
Oh,
didn't know this, and I was wondering why every time I went on Lyft, it kept saying if your safety inspection is about to expire. And I'm like, how's it about to expire? I got until November, and then just yesterday, I was driving Lyft for Memorial Day, and my last trip, I ended up in Oddington, Maryland. So I was near Baltimore. Dropped somebody off in Oddington from Kensington. Okay. Dropped them off, and then it said view issues, and I couldn't go online. So I called Lyft, and they said, yeah, you have to do your inspection every 6 months. And I said, that's absolutely crazy that I have to do it every 6 months. So I went up to this little shop down the street on Duke Street. Not, is that Duke Street? Yeah, not Duke Street. Van Doren Street. I'm sorry, down on Van Doren Street, where the Exxon is right there within the Exxon. And I went there to get my safety inspection. Did come to find out my parking brake had an issue, and I'm thinking, oh God, am I going to have to drop thousands upon thousands that I don't have to fix a parking brake just so I can work? Thank God I didn't. It just needed an adjustment. And I only had to pay, like, along with the inspection fee, like $144. So I was like, you know what? I'll make that back tomorrow. I'll make that shit back tomorrow. As long as I'm able to get on this app and go out tomorrow and drive around this godforsaken area and pick people up and drop them off and don't get tipped because they're ass wipes, I don't care. But yeah, that's what I got. That's
yeah.
what I got.
Well, I'm happy that it worked out and it wasn't as bad as you had feared. So,
Oh, trust me, I was stressing.
yeah.
I was stressing hard.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I don't do Lyft, but I now take two kids around and to all their activities, so I kind of feel a little bit like a Lyft driver. I just just daddy daycare, yeah, driver, is my new job. So, all right, Sith. So I heard that there was a very exciting ending to NXT that just happened. We wanted to
Sith, what the fuck are they doing, dog?
No.
For the first time in the 6+ years I've known this man, he's speechless. And trust me, Sith is never short of a word. But the fact that it took him that long to even respond with a I don't know should tell you that what just happened at the end of NXT is shocking. Even Mike Rome, who's the ring announcer, they had a camera on him and his jaw was on the floor like, what the hell just happened?
I have one of three possible theories that are feasible. One, Stephanie McCure may be headed up to the main roster at some point, which she has the credentials to do it, absolutely. But you're going to put her up there before Jordan Grace. I kind of have to wonder about that. Number two would be shock value. To do a title change like this, do it via shock. And number three is Shawn Michaels is rolling the dice to see if this possibly could help things out. And I don't know if it's going to work or not.
Well, I definitely was a shock and awe, especially given the fact that you start the show with a title change. Ethan Page is North American champion, defeating Ricky Saints in a match that was just out of control and all over the place. And then you end the show with another shock title change. Like, clearly NXT is trying something here. My question is it going to hit or is it going to miss? They already had a shock title change at Battleground with Trick Williams becoming the first WWE superstar ever to win the TNA World Championship while being a contracted WWE superstar. So that was already shocking all right there. And then 2 days later, you have not one, but two title changes that booked in your TV show as your fallout from Battleground. What do you think about that?
NXT, though, I'll be honest, has been firing on all cylinders for the last several weeks, to say the least. And Ricky Saint's already dropping the title to Ethan Page, who I think should already be on the main roster. I have to be wondering certain things here as we're discussing this. What is he thinking about what's going on with Ricky Saints? Are they going to possibly have him go up against Obafemi, which would be insane, but cool?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the strategy is for Ricky Saints moving forward now that he's no longer the North American champion. It's clear that already Ethan Page has a couple potential challenges. I didn't get to hear the promo because I was on here and whatnot, so I didn't get the chance to hear the promo. But it seems like he has a few potential challengers for his North American Championship in the form of Javon Evans and two guys on the main roster, Laredo Kid and Ray Phoenix. So it's going to be interesting to see, where they go with that. I'm interested to see where they go with that. And of course, now Stephanie's lost the championship and she still has a tag match against a couple of luchadoras from AAA for Worlds Collide. Again, and she's going to be teaming, looks like, with Lola Vice. So that should be a very interesting situation. Before Robbie gets back, Sid, did you see Best of the Super Juniors this morning?
No. And I'm going to have to turn in this new computer that I got, and because I'm going to do a reset on it, but if the camera doesn't work after a full hard reset, oh boy, this computer's getting traded in for another one.
Yeah, it's crazy because you were thinking about sending me your old laptop, and now that was not working. That's what I was getting ready to tell Rob. I was like, he just got that laptop and it's already fucking up. Like, what in the hell's going on?
Well, I'm resetting it as we speak, which means I'll be up after I'm done talking with you guys. I'll be up for about another hour or so, after that. But
well, just to give you some insight with Best of the Super Juniors, Kosei Fujita is in the final. He won his final block match and then sat back as Hiromu lost to Robbie X. And because of the loss by Hiromu, it got Fujita into the Best of Super Juniors final. So it's going to be Fujita on June 1st. And then on Thursday, we find out who he will be facing. And it's a lot of scenarios in there on who can make it to the finals in the B block. But it's really, really like tightened up, and it's really going to be an exciting finish. And I cannot wait. By the way, and Sage doesn't listen to this podcast, so I can go ahead and tell you he's won the predictions.
Yeah, I woke up this morning figuring that out.
Yeah, he's 9 up on me, and there's only 6 matches to go, including the final. So there's no way I could catch him, even if he goes 0-6 and I go 6-0. There's no way I could catch him. So, but it's going to be an exciting Best of the Super Juniors tournament to finish off. We got Robbie back in the building.
Thank you, guys. I've been listening the whole time, lurking mode, but I appreciate the breakdown. I do want to talk real quickly about Saturday night and then also on Monday, sort of a lot of stuff happening with the growing factions in the WWE, as well as some interesting matches from the Saturday show. I know that you guys don't do live reactions because there's so many commercial breaks for that Saturday show. But Sith, what were some of your takeaways from Saturday and then the fallout on Monday as well?
Champ knows well, I love Saturday night's main event, the retro feel of it, the atmosphere of it. It still has that very cool retro feel, but with the modern take on it. The only bad thing was Chelsea Green getting a broken nose, which was a complete accident. It wasn't done intentionally. There was no malice behind it. But I think one of the better things about Saturday night's main event this time around was R-Truth trying to beat some sense into Cena, including doing some of John Cena's greatest hits to try to break Cena, but Cena wouldn't budge. And then people start complaining about, and I mentioned this to Champ on those spots the other night, people need to stop complaining about Cena. He said he was going to ruin wrestling. what better way to ruin pro wrestling the way it is today than to have the last world champion, John Cena, and a YouTuber as your other world champion?
Mm-hmm.
What a way to ruin it. I got so tired of people complaining about it. I'm like, it fits the damn storyline. It's sad when casual fans like Robbie can understand that don't watch the product on the regular, but diehard fans are getting all up in arms on it as if the world just came to a fucking end.
Yeah.
And I'm just beyond it. Monday night, this past Monday, was what Champ and I would call, in my opinion, a cool-off show. You were coming out of Saturday night's main event, but if you look at the promo segment involving Lyra and Becky, except for the marriage thing, it kind of veered into territory, except for the new stipulation for their rematch, which ought to be really good. If Lyra wins, Becky can't challenge for the women's IC title again while Lyra's champion. And if Becky wins, Lyra has to raise up her arm in victory. I like that. But the promo felt a bit underwhelming because it felt like, okay, we've gone through this. Same thing with Walter and Jay. It's like, okay, we dealt with this for a good 8 to 10 weeks before WrestleMania. Now we're just rehashing this again type deal. And the shock was last night, though. You had Seth Rollins winning in the main event in a really, really good match, to say the least. And that triple threat to qualify for Money in the Bank. And at least for right now, he's my pick to win the men's Money in the Bank. Because he could have, even though he's won it before, yes, he's one of your top guys. He's someone that you have a story that everyone can be invested in. And that's what you want out of Money in the Bank, is you want someone that you can attach a story to that's fully going to be invested into that story, and not just someone who is going to deal with, oh, well, we're just going to do what we did with Austin Theory, hand him the case, and then tease, oh, he'll cash in on an underground title. No, that's unacceptable. It was a waste of time to give him the case a couple of years ago because Roman Reigns, there was no way he was beating Roman Reigns at all. None. So,
how many people are in the in this matchup, in this iteration of the?
It'll end up being 6, possibly 7 at the end of the day. We're still doing qualifying matches on Raw and SmackDown to get in for both men and women. But it's usually 6 or 7 people total. And that's going to be a busy day for Champ and myself, because we have Worlds Collide that afternoon. Then we get probably about an hour to a half hour, hour and a half break. And then boom, into Money in the Bank we go. It's going to be a deal where I think the Thursday before that is the season finale of Best of Super Juniors Rewind. The following night is the pod. And then we get 2 live streams on the 7th.
Yeah. You guys are.
It reminds me of Robbie telling me that I'm doing the trifecta back in the day when I would do Sports on the Hill, True Talk, in Hertz House.
Yeah.
During during Commander season, that whole entire stretch. And Robbie would be like, "How you hanging out over there?"
Exactly.
I
miss those days. Those were the days. It's crazy to think that was 10 seasons ago, which is it's hard to believe.
It's been a hell of a run, though.
Yeah. I love that we get to still celebrate, the True Radio Network, and it lives on through our 3 different programs, Sith's Basement, the No Spots podcast, and on this show. So I love that it gets to live on, and I'm still hoping sometime soon to have Hurt back on the show. I know when football season comes back on, he'll have some announcements and stuff to talk about. So,
Crazy
And
to
I'll be
believe
back on for football season as well.
yeah.
Crazy to believe this month has been 6 years. It's been
Wow.
on 6 years this month.
It'll be 5 for me because I came on in
No, I mean it's been 6 years since Black GOP passed.
yeah.
This month.
Wow.
Mhm.
It's hard to
It'll be
believe.
6 years for me on those spots in August because it was right after GOP died.
Oh, wow. I had forgotten that you were never on that show until after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I will never forget Champ. He's just like, yo, Sith, you're a wrestling fan. What are you doing Friday night? Like, I don't know any plans. What's going on? He's just like, join me and Donnie Friday night.
Yeah, and
You
then
know?
Donnie went and got a job where he couldn't do the podcast anymore, and then that's when Sif became a regular part.
Yeah.
And then
It's crazy because Sith was a big part of the start of this, show, and he was on the third hour of, almost every week, and talking about the March Madness and all the different sort of sports and stuff like that. And so it's cool to have a full circle moment here, 10 seasons in, and 'cause I know Black GOP is looking down on us and is happy
I
that
need to
we
get
get to have this conversation.
action to this. Hurt was always convinced that there was a Dallas Cowboys fan tied up in my basement. So we used to do shenanigans back on Hurt's house.
Yeah.
And one night, GOP, God bless him, great dude, love him, miss him every day. He asked me what I was doing. And I said that the Dallas Cowboys fan was tied up in the basement watching Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. I said, bro, you're going too far. I'm like, you can never go too far. I said, I want to see his reaction at the ending where everything goes into a total titular that gets you ready for Army of Darkness. And Robbie messages me the next morning. He's like, Evil Dead 2? And I'm like, dude, epic fun movie from '87.
Yeah. I love those movies. Yeah, Bruce Campbell is awesome. So.
I like what he said about someone asked me, and it's something I'll answer tomorrow on my TikTok, why Evil Dead 2 was a soft reboot.
Mm.
And it is a soft reboot because they didn't have the rights to the original film. So what you get is like a soft reboot to get Ash back at the cabin with a different group of people for Evil Dead 2. Okay. So you had to do a soft reboot to get things back.
It always kind of reminded me of like a video game where like the character spawns like a Doom 2 or, what I mean? Like it's kind of like this character is now in a new storyline, like.
Yeah.
And it's kind of almost like 007, right? Like where they just like reboot into it. Like, and so it kind of made sense to me at least.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, have you and Liz seen Final Reckoning yet?
Oh, I have not seen Final Reckoning.
You guys, well...
Is that Final Destination?
No. Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning.
Yeah. So Liz is not a Mission Impossible fan because she does not like Tom Cruise. So I love Mission Impossible, but like we had a deal during the pregnancy. She had to watch all the Mission Impossible movies, and I had to watch all the Twilight movies, right? So we had a lot of time on our hands, and so she has seen most of them. I don't think she's seen the most recent like 2 because it was after that. But I'm definitely gonna try to get it because I have a movie pass, and like I'm gonna try to find a morning or something I could go see it.
It's like family to me, but there's no way Liz is gonna be able to sit me down to watch the Twilight movies.
Right,
This ain't happening.
Yep. Well, things you do for a pregnant, and then a woman who just gives birth, right? So
yeah. But in Final Destination,
have you seen the newest one of that one?
That was really, really good.
Okay, I want to see that. I haven't seen that yet.
By
the way, Lilo and Stitch is awesome. I actually thought it was a really good reboot.
Both films I give 3.75 out of 5, 4 out of 5, around that range. Definitely really good. I teared up a little bit with Tony Todd showing up as Bloodworth again because he died last year of cancer. But as I said on the pod, on those spots, they closed out his character really, really well. And it was a very good emotional feel to it. What I'm waiting for, though, and you're going to be on your summer vacation. Champ and I are going to be in the middle of another pay-per-view stretch. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. I'm waiting and I'm dreading Fantastic Four.
Oh, really? I'm excited about Fantastic Four.
Except for the one in 2005, they've never been able to nail it correctly.
That's true.
2015 was a disaster. So
I've actually never seen that movie. Yeah. So I have seen the other ones, the first two, obviously the Fox ones. Yeah.
The one here's where you start cracking up and Champ goes into shambles. I saw the unreleased version at a Star Trek convention back in the mid-90s.
Oh, yeah.
For all the grief people give the 1990 Captain America movie, go search on YouTube for the Fantastic Four from 94. That made Captain America 1990 looks like the Godfather.
That's funny. Yeah. Welcome on in, Adrian.
Thank you. Yes, I couldn't stay silent anymore. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
It was made by Roger Corman, and they only made it so the studio wouldn't lose the rights to making Fantastic Four movies. So it's like the contract deal was like you had to make a Fantastic Four movie by the end of this year, or else you'll lose the rights. So they just had Roger Corman do it, but it was never officially released. And yeah, you can only like bootleg it. That's the only way you can watch it. And you guys are talking about the 2015 one, like with like Michael B. Jordan and stuff. I heard that one was so bad, like it skipped like the third act. It went from like the first act to the second act and straight to the end. So I heard it was so bad, that's why I never watched it either. But maybe I could watch it one day as like a gag.
So Adrian, this is a big part of this hockey game for you. There's 4-2 left in the third on my screen, and about a minute left of the power play, and you guys are still up by 1 goal. How are you feeling right now?
Pretty nervous because like I love Edmonton's performance tonight, but Dallas has a reputation for making comebacks, especially in the third period. So like I'm not going to be relieved until it's over. I was hoping that we could get some insurance here because Edmonton's been killer on the power play tonight. And like I'm in a chat group with my cousins up in Edmonton, and I'm just like, yeah, we need more power plays. Like that's the secret to our success right now, because we don't have Hyman, and we don't have Connor Brown. So I'm hoping that we can still get the lead in this series. So we'll have the strong lead when we get to Game 5 in Dallas. Is what I'm really hoping. We have 3 minutes. Like my cousins, I told them not to like say anything right away because they're, I guess, like my feed, like my stream is like,
how much time left do you have right now? That's a good question.
Now for you and I, because like you're watching it on ESPN, I'm assuming, right? Because you're in
the
US.
But I'm watching on YouTube TV, so it's still
YouTube. Okay, yeah, there's about 2.5 minutes left. 2:35 just stopped.
2:35 too. Okay, so we're about the same. So real quickly, the Indiana Knicks game is going crazy too. The Indiana 121-114. Towns has been one of their best players. He got hurt. He's basically limping out there right now. Knicks are inbounding with 154. Shoot it up, and it's a miss. So the Pacers have the ball, and they're up 7 points here with 145. Ooh, they're blocked. So this is a very exciting final 2 minutes in this basketball game as well. So, Seth, exciting playoff stuff. But what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah.
Sorry, Seth, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was about to wish you guys the best of luck for the rest of the night because I'm going to try to fix my computer issues.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I will talk to you good people later on. Y'all be good.
Thank you so much. And definitely go check out Sith, the basement. We'll link to him as well. And
Yeah.
Fantastic on the No Spots podcast and all the live events as well. So thank you so much for joining us in all 10 of these seasons, and I really excited to have you back on again soon.
Yep. We'll see you later. Have a good one, everyone.
Yeah, have a good night, Sid.
All right.
Laters.
All right, sounds good. We've got about a minute 44 left in this basketball game. Again, the Pacers are up 121 to 114. Champ, any thoughts on either of these live playoff games or anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, we forgot to talk about the DC United, who had an up and down week this past week.
Yeah, we can talk about them during this commercial break, actually. It's a good time.
Yeah, so DC United are now one step closer to winning the U.S. Open Cup tournament. They actually moved on from the round of 16 to the quarterfinals. They defeated Charlotte in a penalty shootout, 2-1 in a penalty shootout after the game went to a 3-3 tie. There's no sudden death overtime in soccer. So they actually went into overtime and ended up scoring goals in overtime before they ended up going to a shootout, and United were able to win in the shootout. The scoring, as Adrian goes absolutely ape shit right now. We'll get to that update in just a bit. So DC United got the scoring started in the 17th minute with David Schnegg getting the goal to give them a 1-0 lead. But then Charlotte scored 2 goals in the span of 4 minutes, with Patrick Agame scoring in the 58th minute, and then Bill Tuloma in the 61st minute to make it 2-1 Charlotte. DC was able to tie it before the end of regulation in the 86th minute, and then in the extra time and in the overtime period, Tiger Smalls made it a 3-2 lead for Charlotte. But then Jackson Hopkins late in overtime was able to tie it back up at 3, and then again they were able to win it in the penalty shootout 2-1. So next up for DC United in the U.S. Open Cup tournament, they will be going to Nashville to take on the Nashville Soccer Club, Nashville SC, on July the 9th. So they got a little over a month before their next tournament game against Nashville. And the winner of that game moves on to the semifinals, which won't be played until September 16th and 17th. And then the finals of this tournament won't be played until October the 1st. And whoever wins this tournament gets to participate in the Concave Champions Cup next year. So that's what's on the line for the remaining soccer clubs in this tournament is a berth in the Champions Cup next year. And so DC United is still in it. They're in the semis, in the quarters. They're in the final 8, trying to make it to the final 4. But they gotta get past Nashville in a month and a half, in a little under a month and a half time in Nashville. And then a couple days later, they fell to the New York Red Bulls 2-0. Cameron Harper and Mohamed Sofa with the goals for New York. Harper in the 42nd minute, and then Mohamed Sofa in extra time at the end of the game, scoring to basically put it out of reach for DC United. DC only had 7 shots, 6 of them on target, so they had plenty of chances to get something on the board, but were unable to do so. New York, 11 of the shots and 6 of them on target with 2 goals, and they an advantage in the possession, 53 to 47%. And so they fell there, and they continue to lag behind in the Eastern Conference table. Definitely need to get it together moving forward.
For sure. Thank you for the update for all of that soccer knowledge, and I'm excited that they're still in it in the tournament. I wish they would play a little better in the actual games that matter in the standings, but it is what it is. We're down to the final minute here in the third period. Edmonton, as you heard from Adrian, did score an insurance goal, and they just got another one, actually. Yeah. So now they're up 4-1 with 48.7 seconds left. And that's exciting. A 3-1 series lead is going to be huge. Unfortunately for the Knicks, the Pacers are about to take a 3-1 series lead. They are now up 127-116 here with 21 seconds left as that lead has ballooned. And third player in playoff history with 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists. So that's pretty cool. Only the third player ever to do that for Halliburton there. And so a big time triple double for him in this big win. And we could have gotten him right in the draft, and we chose Denny. Is that right, champ?
What's that?
I think that we were. I think I read somewhere that we could have gotten Halliburton in that draft where we got Denny, and we picked, Denny instead.
Here's my thing: like, coulda, shoulda, woulda. It doesn't really matter. I mean, unfortunately, Denny didn't really work out, and he's not even on the team anymore, which is crazy. But that just shows how inept our front office has been for this team over the last several years. It's just, just another one to add to the list of what the fuck decisions that this team has made.
Sounds good. Champ, do you want to stay on for hockey talk, or do you want me to let you have your final say? And
I'll have my final say and get out of here because I'm playing the show, and my road to the show, I got traded from the Nats to the Cubs, won two World Series with the Cubs, and then in the offseason, after I signed a $30 million contract, said, I want to be traded. And they traded me back to the Nationals. And so now I'm playing on the Nationals and whatnot on a $30 million 1-year deal. So there's that. But my final thought is that this weekend, we are going to be talking about Backlash. We're also going to be talking about AEW Double or Nothing, which took place on the same night as Battleground. So we're going to be talking about both of those events this coming weekend, as well as all the fallout from both of those events with NXT, with the 2 title changes that took place on NXT TV tonight, as well as whatever happens on Dynamite and Collision this weekend as the fallout from Double or Nothing, and all of that good stuff. And we'll be on this coming Sunday at around 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, streaming live on Twitch for the Those Spots Weekly Wrestling Podcast. Also this week, Thursday, myself and Sage will be looking back at the final nights of block action for Best of the Super Juniors 32 and talking about the finals. We know that Kosei Fujita of TMDK is representing the A block. Thursday, we will find out who will be representing the B block and facing Fujita on June the 1st. To determine who is the best junior heavyweight in professional wrestling, and it's going to be a hell of a time. So this Thursday around 7 p.m. Eastern on the No Spots Podcast Twitch channel will be the penultimate episode of season 6 of the Best of Super Juniors Rewind. We have all that coming up for you, and I haven't told Sip this yet, but I'm actually coming up with a plan for that day with Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. I just need to shore one part of that before I can release that plan, but I have a plan for that day. So just stay tuned to all of our socials, facebook.com/NoSpotsPod, x.com/TrueNoSpotsPod for that kind of, for any updates on that. But I had fun. I'm about to go and finish playing. I'm about to maybe go play some golf or more Madden. I don't know, but either way, y'all have fun talking hockey. Ryan, congratulations to the Canes. Y'all were the better team against Capitals. Y'all still ain't shit. I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be that guy. Goddammit. Listen, I've been treated as the heel anytime the hockey segment is first. So goddammit, I'm gonna play that role. Okay?
Hey, you're getting your payback. I said it earlier.
Hey, listen, I'm about to be a heel manager in an indie professional wrestling fed come June. So I'm going to play the role, goddammit. But either way, congratulations. Good luck to you guys. Y'all have fun talking hockey. I'll see y'all later. Go Kigenyo. Sayonara.
Thank you, champ.
Sayonara.
I appreciate you as always, and a fun segment, and it was fun to get Sith involved in the wrestling as well. We're going to switch to our last segment of I'm going to do, hold on. switching the graphic. There we go. The Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to get an instant reaction from Adrian. Big time win. Up 3-1 in this series. I know Dallas can't be ever counted out, but how are you feeling with this tonight's big victory?
I mean, like, what a relief, because Connor Brown has been a very good player, and to have him counted out was a bit nerve-wracking. And I wasn't thrilled to see Hyman get out either, because he's been a very good player this playoff series as well. And I was just like I felt good, but I'm also nervous because we had the lead in game one. Edmonton had the lead, a strong lead in game one, and they managed to blow that, and Dallas stomped Edmonton in game one. So I was just like really nervous about a repeat of that to like make the series even. But I'm glad that they were able to hold on. Stuart Skinner, he's just been fantastic. I'm actually like I frequent the Edmonton Oilers subreddit, and they had a nice take which I thought was pretty interesting. Which was so Stuart Skinner got a shutout. But then the first game in this series, it was a blowout, right? Like the game three, the Edmonton managed to win while just letting one goal in. So it was like it's good because it was either Stuart Skinner was either capable of shutting them out completely or just like allowing like the goals to go in. There was no in between, so it's nice to see that he's dynamic with like a bit of in between. It's okay to make a mistake as long as it doesn't cost you the game. Granted, I am glad that he did get that shutout because he really deserved it. I'm also glad that Pickard is recovered enough to be the backup goalie, because he was pretty solid earlier in this playoff run as well. So it's nice to have both of them ready to roll. I'm also proud of my guys, Ryan here, his squad, because like I was like, man, like don't just let Florida steamroll you. So like
Again,
I don't want like if like we're gonna face Florida, I'd rather face Florida like after being pummeled like a little bit, as messed up as it is to say, by the Hurricanes. But hey, you never know, man. The Hurricanes could do a reverse.
The Hurricanes are due a home victory at least at this point. So
yeah, they've been fantastic at home this season. I'm sorry if I'm like I'm either like I'm in my living room, not in my man cave. So like I'm either like overexposed like a ghost, or am like in the dark. Maybe if like I have the illumination for my TV, it'll be a bit better. I don't want to come off.
You're fine either way.
Or so okay, yeah. But yeah, so it's been pretty exciting, but also nerve-wracking because I still haven't forgotten last year. Heck, I still haven't even forgotten 19 years ago when the Hurricanes. But thank God the Caps managed to win back in 18. That was wonderful. So I'm glad I got to experience that. So but yeah, like I'm just relieved that they were able to pulled in the power plays like tonight. I felt like that was the big difference maker in the way Edmonton was able to get the lead, because it's like I remember game one was just like we gave up so many bad penalties, which gave Dallas some critical power plays to get them the edge of that win. And they've been slinging this stat like how like they only had like 3, maybe 4 now. I'm not 100% sure. Like only 3 or 4 5-on-5 goals this whole series. So it's like Dallas really needs those power plays to get the edge. I mean, everybody does, but for Dallas, this seems to make like a really big difference. So I'm really glad that Edmonton didn't just give up stupid penalties here and were able to take advantage of their own.
Yeah, for sure. I think that as it moves to Dallas, you're going to have to, the penalty kill is going to have to come up huge, because it'll be tough to play the next one in Dallas. So I want to get Ryan's thoughts here on your series. I know that the first 3 games were pretty rough. He even benched the goalie, then had to go back to him. I thought he played much better in this game, much more like we got to see as the Capitals. And so I'm happy to see that it wasn't a fluke that he could put up a game like that again. What are your thoughts going back home? Do you think he can steal another one, or what are your
Yeah, I don't really think the scores have been because of goaltending. Honestly, just a lot of turnovers and undisciplined play from the Hurricanes, which of course the Panthers are notorious for baiting people into playing, undisciplined, So that's like what they do. And so it was very interesting, like when the playoffs started this year, I was kind of like, we'll see what happens with this team, but like running back the team that missed from last year, they lost Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, Teuvo Teravainen. Before the season started, they just let all those players go in free agency because they didn't have the money to spend. They were supposed to re-sign Jake Gensel, but they were too busy trying to put all the pieces together, the puzzle, like how can we sign as many people as possible? And then by the time they offered Jake Gensel what he wanted, Tampa Bay had already swooped in. It was kind of like, he was like, no, I'm done like negotiating with you at that point. So anyway, so all that, like my perspective going into this playoffs was like, I'm not expecting much of anything really. And then they put up that series against the Devils where they looked disciplined and like in control. And I was like, okay, maybe we're starting to put this behind us. And then they really looked the same against the Capitals. I was like, okay, maybe this team is different. And then game 1 happened. I was like, oh, this is the team that, lost control against the Rangers and lost control against the Panthers 2 years ago. I thought they had grown past this, but apparently not. And so really Anderson being pulled was not really about him. It was more just like trying something different for the team. Kochetkov, I don't know how much you guys know about him, but he's a very big personality and kind of fiery and does crazy stuff in net. Loves, actually, fans call him Poke Chetkov because he loves to like do poke checks. He'll dive out of the crease to like try and get the puck away from somebody. So with this series, I'm not really hoping for a reverse sweep. I'm kind of hoping for it, but it's not really in my expectations at all. But what is more in my expectations after game 4, seeing them actually play their style and also figure out Florida's trap. They're really good at kind of they really go puck heavy when they're defending. Like when people are in transition, they like load the puck side. They'll like bunch almost like 3 people along the boards, which is the way that Carolina likes to move the puck, is kind of along the boards. And so it was like they're like basically like putting it along the boards like right into a player most of the time because there's like a player there. It's like, why are you passing right to Florida? Like you got to do something different. So they actually started, I noticed, doing more either flips out of the zone or like cross ice stuff. Even they would even sometimes have a winger playing a little farther over than they typically I've seen them do.
You have to try
kind of spread the ice a little bit.
The slingshot that us Caps fans hate so much, but like it's it's effective against that sort of trap sometimes.
Yeah. So it's like so they've got something going as far as they really did. Florida, I think, had 2 high danger chances in this game, like the whole game. The shutout. So Freddie played well.
Yeah.
But it was more about the people in front of him playing really well, which is surprising because they have 2 rookie defenders in the lineup. They have 2 defensemen now down with injury. So it's kind of surprising, but I think they mostly kept it simple for the guys. And Nikishin had his first ever playoff point, or his first ever NHL point, first ever assist, which is awesome. And it was actually a really good play, too. He was the one that assisted on the game-winning goal. So he had to kind of backhand it across the ice to Stankoven, who was all alone, and just sniped it. And that ended up being the difference. They got 2 empty net goals afterwards. So that was really like a total team effort as far as like defensively is concerned. And I think definitely I think most fans are in my position of like just kind of relieved that, you know, we can stop talking about the losing streak in the conference finals. And not really like, I mean, still like anxious and wanting to see the team continue, but a little bit like less like, you know, it was the ire. I mean, it was like I had to like shut off like conversation with certain parts of the the fan base, because you know you could imagine, you know, it was everything, just throwing everything out there like. I need something to be mad at.
How do you consume? Do you watch it on Twitter? Where do you get your news source for, or your community source for Carolina news and stuff like that?
It's evolved over the years. There used to be like you might know, like the blogs, like the SB Nation blogs.
Yeah.
There's one for the Hurricanes. I forget what the Capitals one is, but
I know. Yeah.
But yeah, but lately it's been I remember actually the Russian Machine Never Breaks, that one.
I still it's funny because that's a sore subject in my group, because some people of Caps fans love it and think it's the greatest thing ever, and then the other half of the Caps fans think it's the worst thing ever. And it's funny because a lot of my co-hosts, like Gil, hates it, so like I'm never in our group chat posting links to it. But like I've always loved it. I actually almost went up and talked to the guys at that blog, that write for them, when I was at the Ovechkin celebration thing. But I didn't end up doing it but I've been like, I honestly always check them because they always give you like tidbits about players that are not like the normal stuff. Like I love like the family dynamic and all that. I think it's important to know that side of them. Like some people only want to look at them as a hockey players, right? So it's just and also they do a lot of clickbait and shit like that, the headlines, so I can understand why that frustrates a lot of the fan base. Like, I'm like, it's just kind of part of the game, which I kind of get, but like, it's funny how polarizing that blog is specifically to our fan base. And,
that's funny. But so I guess nowadays it's more, I don't actually, I haven't really used Twitter, but a lot of like, the interesting stuff from Twitter gets filtered over into like Reddit, which is what I look at.
Same.
It just tends to be, there's still like a lot of heat, but at times, especially this week, man, it's been it's been a lot. So it's just kind of like, it's like a vicious feedback loop of like, you almost have two factions of like the people who are like, stop being negative about our team. And then the other side's like, stop being negative about me being negative. Let me be angry. It just goes and goes and goes like in a circle.
Well, I moderate so many Facebook groups about the Capitals.
Oh,
like,
no.
Yeah, like over them, like, because I've just accrued them over 20 years of being like a fan. Like, oh, you've moderated groups and you know something about the Capitals. I'm like, fine, but I'm gonna be able to spam my shit on your channel. That's the deal. Like, so
you could not pay me to moderate one sports Facebook group. Like, I don't know how you're living through that.
Right, I barely do, and I often just like block a lot of bullshit. So like, and then just like don't care that much, and then share our podcast a lot. I'm like, so I missed the views this week because I'm not sharing to any of the Caps groups because none of them are gonna really want to, watch this
That's
week.
True, yeah.
But like, it's funny though to like see some of that because they like rag on them, and then you're being negative, and it's like, what are your levels of expectations? Because some fans were like, oh, we weren't even supposed to make the playoffs, and we're just happy to be there, and Ovechkin had this great run, and what a great story, and But some other people are like, I expect the cup or everything. I'm like, have you only been fans since then? Like, this
Yeah,
is
right.
pretty typical Capitals heartbreak. I've experienced it more than 20 times. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robbie, remember when we were at the Stanley Cup Championship parade?
Yes.
Which, by the way, quick side note, Robbie is the best friend to have with you on a parade where you're out all day. He had everything ready to go. He had like snacks, drinks,
sunscreen, bottled water,
like,
all
everything. Pokemon Go, like we're playing Pokemon Go all day, and like our batteries running. I was like, here, I got a spare battery charger. They're like, dude, Robbie, what don't you have? But anyway, I specifically remember when every player had their speech after the end of the game. TJ Oshie was like we were chanting, we want the cup, and then we were chanting, we got the cup. We're gonna change the chant to back. And I remember you and I were like, no, like what? Like, let's be realistic here. Like, it's like I want back to backs too, but like we went. What was that? Like they're 1974, so that was like what 44 years. So it was like they were 43-1 at that point. It's like don't jinx it, but yeah, I appreciate your enthusiasm though, and the
or maybe we should have kept the coach. Like that was a stupid.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he went to the Islanders because we weren't paying him enough. Barry Trotz. Yeah, he deserved to.
I mean, Ryan, you should pay that coach whatever he's asking for.
Right.
If he finally broke through, like, what are they doing?
Yeah. He did what no other coach in the history of that team ever accomplished, and they're like,
there's no way you're gonna have the chemistry and go back to back with a different coach. Like that's so awkward.
That was an odd thing. That was a very odd.
They were going to fire him 2 months before, but then he went on a crazy run and won the cup. And then the thing was, there was a clause that triggered him winning the cup that he would get X amount more that he had negotiated, but then he wanted more above that. And our owner should have just done it. Like fuck whatever. But the owner wanted to like, hey, look, that was the deal. If this happens, then you take this other deal. And
that's pretty funny because I'm reminded, actually, totally different sport, but NC State's college basketball team, they were like, they had done everything short of basically like making the termination official for their basketball coach, and then because they weren't even going to be like in any postseason. That's how bad their record was. And then they won the ACC tournament. They had to win 4 games it
was 7, right?
5 games in 5 days.
5 games in 5 days, but then
which is insane. Yeah. And then to make the college tournament, and then they went to the Final Four. So they couldn't fire him after that. But then the next year, a lot of the key contributors left. The biggest one was there was a guy that I thought was going to come back, but I think he maybe went overseas to go back and play. He was from France, and he moved over to the States to play for the team, and then he decided, I guess, to go back to France, and that really hurt the team, and they
what's hard with a Cinderella story and then there's a target on your back. That's a really hard thing to repeat after being a Cinderella.
So anyway, but they were like, see ya coach. Like after that season they fired him. So now he's gone, and they got a different coach, and it's like basically like an entirely new team, especially the way college sports operates nowadays. It's like everybody's shifting in and out. But anyway, that's a digression from hockey. I just wanted to say to Robbie that sometimes I hate being right in terms of I told you after the first round was over, I said, boy, it's looking like we're going to get a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup. So, like, I know we're getting this matchup of the Canes and the Caps, but, like, it's looking like we're going to get a rematch of the Panthers and the Oilers. So we'll see.
I would love the Oilers to run it back and beat them this time.
Oh gosh, I mean, I have to be going for Adrian's Oilers in that matchup for sure. I don't care. I don't care about Brad Marchand eating Dairy Queen. That's like a thing that's like
Yes.
people think is.
But then it was honey.
Everybody likes Dairy Queen. Like, why is this a story?
But then he came out and said it wasn't Dairy Queen, it was a honey.
He lied?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't.
Okay, anyway, but he actually.
I don't know what's true anymore.
I can tell you this. I can confirm, because actually this was on Reddit and then it became a thing, is that the Florida players, when they were in Raleigh, they went to a Dairy Queen and a fan saw them there at the Dairy Queen. Mm-hmm. So Brad Marchand was among them. So he does eat blizzards, but maybe there was one thing where it looked like he was eating a blizzard, but he wasn't. I don't know.
I'm asking ChatGPT to verify is it honey or DQ and see what AI comes up with. The best prompt I've come up with.
This is the real hard-hitting sports journalism that we come to the Sports on the Hill podcast for. But
real shit here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
But yeah,
this is hilarious. And then I love how I gave it no context. So I wanted to challenge it. I asked, did Brad eat honey or DQ? So he has to like machine knowledge. What am I talking about? Brad Marchand, whether it's and it nailed it, which I think is hilarious.
Oh, really?
Brad Marchand has clarified he was eating honey, not Dairy Queen Blizzard, during intermission of Game 3 during the Eastern Conference Finals. The confusion arose after cameras captured him eating something with a spoon, and he jokingly claimed it was a Blizzard. However, he later admitted it was honey, referencing his childhood fondness for Winnie the Pooh.
Gotcha. That's funny.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Either way, it's like both of those are like, I'm not sure which is more strange to have, during intermission,
I love the ending. It said, so to answer your question, Brad ate honey, not DQ.
Yeah. Well, I do know that he visited a Dairy Queen, and it was like a team, part of the team outing. There's like a bunch of guys that went to Dairy Queen together.
Yeah.
And he was among them. So anyway, but yeah, that's pretty funny. I was going to say, like, it is something I've seen more and more. I mean, of course, as we all, I think, are aware, the playoffs are possibly like the most different from the regular season of like any professional sports.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so, like I was kind of saying, like, when the playoffs start, like, how do you know who's gonna fare well? Like, you really don't.
Exactly.
But then I feel like, and this is what I was kind of getting at with like me, like, I hate that being right, but like once I see teams go through a round, you kind of start to see how they're gonna play and maybe a little bit of how those styles are gonna interact with each other. And so for me, like, I was hesitant on Florida because they had a lot of guys that were banged up, particularly Matthew Tkachuk. And like, how are they actually going to look, in the playoffs? Are they actually going to be roaring on all cylinders, and be this kind of super team? They added Seth Jones and Marchand, at the deadline. And turns out, yeah, that's exactly who they were going to be. And then, also Dallas was kind of the other big, like, question mark of like, how is this going to play out with them? With they had a bunch of guys banged up, including Heiskanen, great defenseman, and then of course they acquired Mikko Rantanen, who hadn't really wowed people, at the end of the season, and I was like, what's going to happen in the playoffs? And then the first round started, and he was kind of nowhere to be seen. And then, of course, the end of the round, he's the big story of the playoffs. It's just really interesting to see just how different this game is, because I don't know, like, just watching the last 2 months of the regular season, if I would have said, oh yeah, Florida, Edmonton are going to run it back, I don't think I would have said that. But after watching the first round, I was like, yeah, I think we're getting there. I don't know. Of course, Adrian, you might have a different perspective because you're like hoping and rooting for Edmonton, and of course, it didn't start out very good in the first round with LA.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
what was your feeling like? Did it seem like were there signs of life after those first two games that made you think, you know what, I think they've got a shot to turn it around? Or were you really like, oh, I don't know how, what were you thinking after that?
Yeah, I was thinking like, oh, maybe they're going to phone it in because it's like getting all the way to the finals only to lose it can be pretty bad, since it's basically like an extra 2 months of playing, and it's not just like playing hockey, it's like intense, like people don't hold back.
It's like Hockey Plus.
Exactly. And it's 3 years in a row of beating that team, so you got to feel like the pent-up frustration coming back the other way.
Absolutely. Like, I don't blame Los Angeles for hating on Edmonton. Like, it's just how it's unfolded, and it's unfortunate that it's always had to be that matchup. But like, I thought that like, oh, Los Angeles is finally going to get their revenge this year. But then that game 3 where they got kind of like that like nothing burger lackadaisical flippant looking goal, and then they were able to rally and tie it and then win it in overtime. And then they won the rest of the series after that. Like, okay, like after that, I felt like they could like believe in themselves again, and then get past it. The Golden Knights, it was like I felt like they still had that confidence from beating LA, and now against Dallas, it's like first they fight Los Angeles the same as last year. Now it's Dallas. The only difference was the second round, I believe. I forgot who they fought in the second round last year because I try to not think about last year too much. Like that whole like Amazon Prime like documentary behind the scenes thing. I couldn't watch it. Like I know how it ends. I just can't. I can't. It's too traumatizing for me. But yeah, like they've I feel like they've rallied their like they had some like guys that were kind of like written off that are actually doing really, really well, like Connor Brown, Hyman, Pickard. I know I like what made it sting extra for Vegas was I think that like Pickard was given up by Vegas and Edmonton took him, and now he's the one who's helping them advance past where Vegas was. So it's like, oh snap! Like you guys are kind of like underestimating them. You had the power forwards, like Draisaitl was like the highest goal scorer of the regular season. Yeah, him and Draisaitl and McDavid make a great team, great pair. I'm just I feel like now that things have like kind of like fallen into place the way they have, I feel like they're embracing it, and they're really trying to not have a retread of last year. I'm like, one thing I will say about Florida that's nice is that they made it to the finals in 23 and lost to Vegas, and then they came back the next year and won it. So it's like, okay, that's a great idea, Edmonton. You should copy that idea. Get to the finals, lose, and then win it the following year. Copy Florida. Do that. And then I'll be happy. And what's great about winning the championship is that you get to brag about it forever and ever. And I don't care if it's been like a bajillion years since they won. I still, Robbie, one of these days I need to take a photograph of my like that hat. I see it in the corner of your screen, that Nationals championship hat that I gave to you as a gift.
Yeah,
awesome. You've kept it in pristine condition on your wall. Yeah. Unlike my hat that I have the same one, I wear that hat all the time, and it's like so worn out, so weathered out. I'm like, I don't care that it's been.
I love that we got like a Hall of Fame of hats, of all the like big time moments that are in my fandom. Some have signed. That one's from like a Nicholas Backstrom hat trick in the playoffs.
Yeah,
that one's from an Ovechkin hat trick in the playoffs, which is crazy that he's only ever had one hat trick in the playoffs. I still find that hard to believe out of all the statistics. And Sidney Crosby got a hat trick in the same game. Like that still wild to me, and that they were in back-to-back seasons, both on game twos.
Yeah,
and I happened to go to both of them, so I was
That's crazy.
yeah, this is pretty good.
And
yeah.
both games had rival hat tricks. So in the other one, Nicholas Baxter won it in overtime, but there's already been a hat trick for. We were playing. Was it Montreal? Yeah, I think it was. So, yeah,
Yep.
it's been so
Exactly, yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm hoping that Edmonton is like that, and then I can have a hat or a hat-shaped decoration to go on my wall, like Rick
Yeah.
does, and get to brag about it forever. So that's what I'm really hoping for. And
I'm really hoping that Ryan's team
Yeah.
wins tomorrow, though, because I want that series to go at least longer and make it exciting. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like you guys win back home, then like the seeds of doubt have been laid, right? And then you
Sure.
already won one game in Florida. Why not another one, right?
Exactly.
And take it back home where you have that home crowd going crazy for a game 7.
That would be insane.
Yeah. You gotta get Justin Williams to come out of retirement, right, Mr. Game 7?
Yep, Mr. Game 7 right here.
Yeah. See, I had a feeling that too. It was what we're wearing, so it's something that we have in common, except for he did not produce an our Game 7. I will. He produced in every Game 7 except for when he played for the Capitals, but that's
Womp womp.
there. But I still like him a lot. So,
I was gonna point out when Adrian was talking about Edmonton's journey, and again this kind of goes to like the playoffs being so different for the NHL compared to the regular season, is you have to have the playoff failures before you experience the success. And that to me was kind of like the most annoying part about the Hurricanes like Eastern Conference Finals losing streak. It's like every team like has that moment, that they run up against the wall and they have to figure out, how to get past it, right? But it's like there's going to be a certain point where that happens. It's kind of the same thing like with Toronto's like narrative. It is kind of silly like in some ways, because the thing that's not silly is like there's a lot of those players that have actually been like a part of a lot of those playoffs, and
I think Zach Hyman, who was a part of a lot of those, and now at least gets to experience some success with the Oilers.
Yep.
So I'm kind of happy for him. But you say that, and it's an interesting point, because the Capitals felt that for so many years, where Crosby's Penguins would beat them every year in the second round, and in 2018 they finally beat them, and they said it was a huge moment when Kuznetsov, gives them the bird, so to speak, and and then scores that overtime goal, right? And so it was the changing moment of the playoffs. So what I'm hoping for is that now the monkey is off your back. You can win in this round. Now play loose and just try to get one more, and then one more again, and then see what happens from there. So
it has happened in sports, and it's always like kind of like a poem how it rhymes. It's like because the Islanders won it in '83 against Edmonton, and I watched that. My dad gave me this Wayne Gretzky DVD. I actually watched it at your house, Robbie, while I was house sitting for you, funnily enough. But they were mentioning how like after the '83 series was over, Messier, Gretzky, all those guys, they were walking out of the building and they passed by the Islanders locker room, and they couldn't help but notice the Islanders were like, they looked beaten up. They had clearly given it their all. And it's like, the Oilers in that year, they were like, they basically had gas left in the tank. They had room to spare. So like they learned that from that moment, like when you're in the finals, you have to give it all, because it's basically the end of the season anyway. You may as well just fire on all cylinders and go for it. And then they managed to win it the following year. And then you have another poem, another rhyme with the '86, how Montreal beat Calgary in the finals that year. And then 3 years later in '89, it was the other way around. Calgary managed to beat Montreal as their one and only Stanley Cup. And then more recently, I remember like Tampa Bay had a pretty good run. They won back-to-back cups in 2020 and 2021. But like if I recall correctly, the previous year before they won in 20, they were the laughing stock because they got swept by the Blue Jackets, and like they were the top team in the regular season by a landslide, and they were the favorites to win. And
Oh, it's such a crazy tournament in the bubble, though, with all the Canada one, and
Yeah.
So
that was.
But that whole pushing to the brink and then like fighting back. And for the Capitals had this too. I felt like their breaking point was, the Capitals won the cup that year, but remember Vegas won game 1. And so like I couldn't help but feel like, okay, the Capitals have been in existence for 40 something years, have not won a single game in the finals because they got swept in '98 to the Red
I was
Wings.
there in that game 4.
So it's like they won game 1. So that I felt like that was them like Goku turning into Super Saiyan. They're like, and then they were.
Well, they had to come from behind in every round. Literally, all 4 rounds in that 2018 run, they won it on the road, and they had to come from behind in the series in all 4 of them. So, like, that's never happened before, and so like I think adversity has to come for all teams, and now they have if they could beat them in Florida, they can surely beat them at home, and I'm hoping that they put together a really a great matchup, and I'm hoping they do that reverse sweep, and you can come on next week on next Monday and talk about it. That
would be crazy.
That would be pretty crazy.
Especially, I mean, of course, as Adrian remembers, they almost got reverse swept in the Stanley Cup final. They almost suffered that fate. I mean, it was, and I honestly felt like, the immediate aftermath of that, where they gave, McDavid the Conn Smythe, and he wasn't going to come out to accept it. I thought, Edmonton's coming back at some point. I didn't necessarily know if it was going to be the next season, but it was clear, I think it was the right choice for him not to come out and accept it just because, he's the captain of the team. And I think that's what he said, is he needed to be with his team, and also sending a message to the team of like, this is what matters to us, is the cup. Like, I mean, I don't think it was. I didn't see it as being disrespectful or ungrateful to like be awarded that.
It's crazy that a player on a non-winning team winning that, though.
It's happened. It's happened a few times.
Only
I remember
times. One of them was
Jaguar,
too.
Against the Devils. I was rooting for the Mighty Ducks, and they lost in the dead puck. This was before the lockout. I think it was 2004.
Yeah, probably pre two line pass.
03,
2-line pass era.
But I remember, man, he was incredible, and I think the Ducks took down the Red Wings, the mighty Red Wings, in the first round. And that might have been some weird series where either they came back or maybe they even I think they had to win 3 or 4 games straight against the Wings, and nobody thought that was possible. But it happened. So anyway, it's a sport, where you have to fail first before you learn your lessons. And so that was kind of my thinking this year is, maybe the Hurricanes learned their lesson as far as not sweating the small stuff, in terms of missed calls and, the antics behind the play. And then Florida came to town and really got under their skin, because they did so well. I mean, Robbie, you probably noticed that against the Capitals, they were not really,
they're playing such good team defense and just
they weren't sweating a lot of the small stuff. There wasn't a lot of. I mean, there definitely was things that happened, between the whistles and whatnot, but it never got to the point where that was the main focus. You know what I mean?
I thought it was actually a really great series. Two tight teams, and it was just the Caps. It wasn't their year. I don't really feel like the Caps played that badly, or and I thought that they made some good shifts that happened in that last game, and they almost won it. And I wouldn't have been surprised if they had made some of those shifts a couple of games earlier, if the series may have had a different look. So
Yeah, that's the thing is like I feel like that's kind of what's happened with the Hurricanes is like they might have learned their lesson too late. You know, as far as like, you know, how to play and how to I don't know if the adjustments that they made. I think the one thing that I would agree with a lot of the most upset fans about is there was a debate over who was going to be the defenseman to fill in. And Nikishin had played against the Capitals in Game 5, but like everybody was kind of confused because the coach Brindamore was like, "Oh, like you know, like the other defenseman Morrow, he's you know, he was talking him up, like he was like, oh, he's you know, he's been in our system in our you know AHL team for a while. He's had a lot of experience and." You know, communicates well and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh no, he's going to get the start over Nikishin. And then he had a dreadful game. I mean, nobody had a good game one, but he was like -4 and he caused a turnover and he had a delay of game penalty where it was like clean, nobody in front of him. He just flipped the puck right over the glass and Florida scored on the power play. Like he had a dreadful game. And I was just thinking before, like Nikishin had a mistake against the Capitals, but like he was fine, and like why not just roll the guy that was fine in that situation, even though he wasn't perfect, you know? Like I don't know, like I kind of
feel like you have a coaching edge that you can throw somebody out there that they have less tape on sometimes.
It's
different because
I know he had his reasons. It's just like I wish he hadn't like overthought it. I think he just really like you said, he like tried to gamesmanship his way into like making something happen instead of just having kind of more of the quote unquote sure thing. I mean, with a rookie you always expect them to like make a mistake or two, like that's just gonna happen. You just have to hope that it's like it's only like that one thing and that they have other things that they do that kind of make up for that, right? And some fans they'll just like remember the mistakes and fixate on that and not realize that there was like a whole bunch of things that happened outside of that.
Fans are like, they'll talk about all the horrible things John Carlson does, but he also plays the most minutes, so like by definition, like, if you're playing half the game, almost, 27, 28 minutes, if like 1 minute of bad things happen, but he played 26 solid minutes where he stopped everything else, like, that's pretty good. Obviously, everyone wants to point out the mistakes.
Yeah.
It only comes in handy when you're trying to dunk on a team that you were not happy about. Like when Florida won the Stanley Cup last year, they didn't win the Conn Smythe Trophy. It's like, oh, hey, you didn't get a complete set. That's too bad.
That's so silly.
I'll pick on that.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them cared.
I don't think so.
I've never met a Florida Panthers fan, so I can't speak for them. Like, I don't. I've still yet to meet one in the wild, which is pretty impressive because I feel like I've met a fan of almost every other team. So.
Yeah,
it's like a Pokemon.
Yeah,
like encountering a Florida Panthers fan. Wild Panthers fan appeared.
I was actually finding earlier I caught a Pokemon and I was thinking about mentioning it to you guys because I was excited. Because
oh, nice.
It was a treat. It was a Pineco, but it was just funny. We're all big Pokemon fans, so I thought it was funny that I was catching Pokemon.
I had a there was something about the weird trade-off between people making fun of somebody for something that's like just ridiculous, and I felt like I had a really fun example of that. Oh no, actually, I remember what I was going to say. I was going to say, who had exactly 28 minutes in the last game against the Panthers? Jacob Slavin. He had 28 minutes and was like, if he made a mistake, I didn't see it. The dude is just like, I don't know how he does what he does. It's really wild. And I've told people before that he's actually a pretty skilled offensive player, but he's always like covering things defensively. So he's like almost never like ahead enough in the play to really like make a big chance. He doesn't have like a big heavy duty slap shot. That's the one thing he doesn't have. but he can actually like pick corners and stuff. I think I remember there was an all-star skills game where he like won the the target practice one.
Yeah.
And he
A lot
won
of
that
defensive
like
players can
as
do
a
that.
defenseman, he has a lot of offensive skill that people don't get to see because he's too busy like getting a stick on every single puck that he sees. It's just
A lot of
it's
them
insane.
are highly accurate. Like a John Carlson has to be highly accurate because when you're
Oh
throwing
yeah, he's really good.
like the lead pass down the ice, like you don't want to get intercepted and then it's right back in your own net, right? So like you have to be able to thread the needle a lot of times, and so I have to be able to put out the sauce, and that's why he's on the power play, right? I mean, he's been a staple on the power play for so long. It's obviously him being a pretty good defensive player helps, but his ability to thread the needle, to Ovechkin becomes a significant part of that, and it's interesting, these defensive players that never get talked about in that way. I mean, John Carlson leads Capitals all time in assists, points, and goals, I believe, for a defensive player. So
awesome. He's good.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
People are only talking about like, oh, he fucked up the 1 or 2 times because he's old now or whatever,
Dude,
But
he's also like he's on the same team as greatest goal scorer of all time, and then one of the most like unicorn players in the NHL, like Tom Wilson, who is also a one of one player.
Yeah.
I think that colors sometimes, like especially like with the hometown fans, like their perception of other players, and it's like I think for the Hurricanes, it's like with Slavin like never making a mistake, they like get more angry at like somebody like Burns who's playing on his pair, and it's like most players who have that amount of minutes, they're gonna make more mistakes, like you were saying. Like nobody else is Jacob Slavin. He's like one of one in terms of like never making mistakes, no matter how long he's out there.
I can't believe how well Burns is playing at 40. Like it's just remarkable to me. Like, because as you're saying, he's in a defensive situation where he needs to be very sound because he's put out there a lot, and I just you don't usually see 40-year-olds getting that kind of playing minutes on the defensive side of.
Nah, he's crazy. Like he's actually, I love all the stories about him. It's just I don't know how much you guys have heard about him, but off the ice, he's a nut.
Right.
Not in like a scary way, but just like who actually lives their life this way. I feel like it's only one on one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just reminds me of Chara, right? It's these big guys that can somehow stand the test of time, and it's and for us, like, it was a Brooks Orpik, right? I mean, he was so pivotal in the 18 run, and it's funny that, Adrian, you say I love Brooks Orpik when, like, for so many years as a Penguin he destroyed us, right? And then he gets redemption because he won us a cup, right? So
I can't say the same, unfortunately.
He got like his first goal in like ages during that postseason run.
Because I think.
Yeah, like I remember before him, like Joel Ward, he was a magnet for like blame. I remember he got a lot of blame for stuff. Like, dude, leave him alone. He was fine. There was that series I think it was Boston we beat.
Well, that one was awful, where we beat Boston in that game 7, and then just the racist Boston fans come out in droves.
Oh, dude, yeah. But I remember we lost in the round after that to someone else. I forgot.
Probably the Penguins or the Rangers.
Oh, the Penguins again? Oh, what a shocker.
Yeah, it's probably
color me surprised.
Yeah. Robbie, I think you know the lore, right? Like why I couldn't say the same about Orpik.
Yeah, right. Because he, no, actually, remind me. Because
during the Hurricanes Stanley Cup season in 2006, Eric Cole was on a bender, like he was on an insane run with Stahl as his line mate, like putting up crazy numbers, points and everything, until Orpik hit him right in the numbers into the boards, and he broke a vertebrae in his neck, and he was out the entire season and all of the playoffs until Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Came back and played. Didn't have a huge, gigantic impact on the score sheet or anything in those last 2 games, but it was just like, and Cole is my favorite player, and this was me as a in 2006. I was still a growing kid, so like
young lad.
so I was like just getting into hockey 2002 was my first year watching hockey. It's like 2006 I was still kind of like more new into it.
Your uncle was the season ticket holder back then, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so I was like newer into it, and Cole is my favorite player, and so I never recovered from that. I never forgave him for that, because he came back from that injury and had some good seasons, but like nothing like how he started 2006. I think statistically he was ahead of Stahl when he was injured, and Stahl had like 100-point season that year. And so, I was like,
that's what was so remarkable about Ovechkin's season this season, that he was able to finish so strong after breaking his leg.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's still able to break the record after that injury leave.
Yeah. I was so sure the record would fall next season. Like, I was like already being like,
put the confetti away, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, there's no way he's gonna do it with only 10 games left, so he's like, hold my beer. So like, it's
the race to 900, which is like,
I know. I'll be interested to see if next year is his last year, or if he decides to play another year after that.
Oh man,
Adrian, what would you say? All right, if we get the rematch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetical, what would you say would be the biggest difference for Edmonton in terms of either their play or their roster construction, or what would you say is like the biggest difference between them for this year and last year?
I mean, the familiarity, being in this exact situation helps. Because it's if it is against Florida again, but keep in mind, we haven't gotten past Dallas yet, but still, like, hypothetically here.
Yep, we are doing hypotheticals.
Hypothetically, I don't want to jinx anything. Knock on wood. But yeah, it's such a long commute from Edmonton to, what is it?
It's literally the longest, I think.
Commute. So like that, you got to take into account. The players that were kind of like McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, like they're old favorites. Like they know what they're doing on the team. Their dynamic is established. Like these new guys, like these newer guys, I'm really appreciative of Connor Brown. Like Zach Hyman has like they're comparing the stats of him against like other like high profile names in terms of like postseason goals recently, and he was like higher than all of them. So like I felt like he was kind of like written off, but he's been fantastic. And Stuart Skinner plus Calvin Pickard. I just hope that they are as stellar as they've been this whole postseason. What I'm hoping is, like, I know like the Oilers don't have Tom Wilson. We don't have the luxury of having a cloning machine to make our own Tom Wilson, but we do have Evander Kane. He's pretty good at being rough. Darnell Nurse, rough. I want the rough guys. I want them to be rough, because like one of the things that like Florida was like seemingly getting away with was just like being rough and not getting called as much. Like it's not even just like an Edmonton thing. Like I go to it's not just like an Oilers subreddit. There's like also the NHL and like hockey subreddits. They all are kind of like, is it just me, or does it feel like Florida's getting away? Like they get like a get out of jail free card, or like when the refs like see something, it's like, like the tight-lipped mafia guy who's like, hey, I ain't seen nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
and don't
like I feel like it's like that. If they can just be tough back and like just not fall for their bullshit. And just don't let them intimidate you, because it's like, Florida was almost like a buzzsaw in the sense, like they almost got reverse swept, but like they were also like really menacing and very like they had a good presence. Like that game 7 last year, it just basically felt like Edmonton was like trying to light a candle with like a lighter that was like almost out of fluid. Like, come on, and Florida was just like putting out the flames, putting out that fire left and right. Not the Calgary Flames. That flame was
that flame was extinguished already.
Here in this metaphor here. So yeah, they're putting out that fire all the time. So it's like just keep the puck away from them. I'd say just be rougher back. Like get pissed off, man. Just get like just remember how much anguish they caused us last year. Just like channel that into them. Just drilling them.
Well, that's why I really hope that Carolina pushes them to a limit or something, and like, yeah, because I think like number of games will matter, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting, like in a way, like Carolina has to do the opposite. Like when they start getting more emotional, I think I'd explained this to Robbie.
Yeah.
Gosh, like somebody like Sebastian Aho, who is a great two-way player. I think his one hang up a little bit that I've seen, especially in the playoffs, is he can get overly emotionally invested to the point, where he's kind of gripping the stick a little too tightly, and just trying to do too much. And then he's messing up and or he's just trying to do like the perfect thing. He's kind of letting perfect be the enemy of the good, where like he could just like rip a shot when he's open, or I'm gonna make the extra pass and try to see if I can fake out the goalie, or get the goalie moving, instead of just like throw it at the goalie and hope for a rebound, like get a dirty goal that way, so yeah. he can. Especially when other, when he's faced in that situation where the top line isn't scoring, because I think he's happy contributing, in that way. But if it's like he and his line mates haven't contributed, he starts to press a lot, and that's where the bad things usually happen. And Svechnikov is very much the same way. He's actually a lot worse in terms of like turning the puck over. He'll just kind of be like bull in a china shop, just trying to hit everything that moves, and then he's not handling the puck very well, or just making bad decisions, So they have to almost just like try to ignore all the BS and like try to just basically stay in front of Florida, not let them kind of get in front of them in a way.
Yeah.
Like, obviously that's kind of like, but yeah, I was actually there. You remember, Robbie, somebody went down. Oh yeah. It was, Anderson got kind of like run into by one of the Caps players, or no. This was against New Jersey. Sorry.
Oh. New
Jersey. Anderson got run into by Timo Meier. And nobody tried to fight Timo Meier. But it was kind of like they ended up playing really well that game and ended up winning that game. And it was kind of like just kind of work through your frustrations through like the scoreboard, and like basically the way that the Hurricanes see it is like you put your frustration and that energy into like winning the puck battles and staying in front of people and being aggressive on the forecheck and doing all that kind of stuff is like, that's where you put your anger into, is like winning, getting those victories instead of like, getting the victory of like pummeling the other guy. And
I think an important thing to note is that there's a good chance you might lose the fight, and then the momentum goes the other way, right? So
Mhm.
like fights are a weird thing in hockey. Like just the act of getting into a fight can spur on your team, but if you get into a fight and then you get your ass handed to you, or you're just not ready for it, it can have a opposite effect. And so,
Yeah.
I,
Worked
yeah,
really well in 2019 in Game 3.
right,
Get
exactly.
knocked out with a concussion and then blow the other team out like I don't know, it was like 5-0 or 6-1 or something like that.
Yeah, so it happens, but
But yeah, no, yeah, I'm sorry.
you have to
I had
have the
to bring up the
player
worst memory.
for the physical fight. Like I think you guys are more of a play sound position because you're almost like a trap style in the sense of you're trying to bait other people into making mistakes, which is funny because Florida's a bit of the same. So
Yes.
it's very you guys play a more similar system in that regard.
I think you know that, Paul Maurice was Rod Brindamore's coach for many years.
Right.
So there's definitely some influence there for sure. I still get the impression that I think Rod gets the most influence from Laviolette.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's tried to forget everything he saw from Bill Peters and Kurt Muller, who were head coaches while he was assistant coach.
Right. Yeah.
Especially Bill Peters. That really turned out very ugly. There's like a report that he like kicked a player behind the bench or something and was like
with a skate.
I don't think he had skates on, but just like
yeah,
he's just
like that's pretty bad.
He was just a giant asshole, abusive asshole. I remember actually when I first was like, this is a little bit like this is like almost beyond Tortorella territory, where like one of the goalies was struggling, Eddie Lack, and Bill Peters said, "Well, there's 60 goalies listed in like goals against or save percentage, and I know who's number 60." I was just like, Jesus, dude. Like that's your own player. Like, how is that really gonna motivate that player to like, be better? Like, what is that supposed to do?
Like Tortorella type comment on
yeah, it's just like
and
he has no
Tom Wilson's bad news. He should be fined. Like, how much did they get fined by the NHL for that?
Oh yeah,
press release. Like,
that's one of my favorite press releases.
Salty,
like,
so salty.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You know what we're talking about, Ryan, right? Where he basically, so Tom Wilson flipped over Panarin, right? And so,
yeah.
And basically, they were like, it was something about carnage, I think they said, in the press report, like. And people just mock the shit out of them because like, are you really gonna like come out and be like, the guy hit me too hard? Like this is hockey. You're a hockey team.
Honestly, considering the news about Panarin, just hit him even harder next time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't feel sorry for Panarin at all anymore. It's just like, ugh. I can't stand hearing that stuff. So anyway, but yeah, I know it's
probably start to wrap it up because it's almost midnight.
Yeah, we're getting a little punch drunk here with our humor, I think.
There you go. No, it's all good. I just know that I have a crazy early morning tomorrow. But
yeah.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, but
this was fun.
This has been super fun, and I'll have you guys back on next week to recap however these series go. And if you're up for
2006 rematch.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
hoping against hope almost, but
right, yeah. That would be something. At this point, it would be either a rematch of last year or that, right?
Yep.
So,
assuming the Stars don't make a miraculous comeback.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta play those games. Play those games.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch, and there is the hope always springs eternal as well for the following seasons.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very happy where we are as Caps fans comparatively to where I was a year ago, being, swept in the first round. So,
Yeah.
and
We
I'm
made it
just
to
so
the first round just because Philadelphia fumbled the ball like so bad.
yeah.
So bad that last end of the season last year, and then we got swept by the Rangers anyway. So yeah, we made progress.
Yeah. Anyway, but I appreciate both of you guys. And if people are checking it out, we got my dad is in chat. First time listener from Indonesia.
I said
Whoa.
hey to him. That hey was to your dad.
Nice. But if people want to see, you can see here. I'm gonna do our shout outs for our guests here. So that E-Flat Guy is a music streamer, and Ace or Adrian. He is does the pew pews, as they say.
I'm having a relaunch. Like I got equipment. I'm gonna go back to streaming really soon, and it's gonna be better than ever. So
I'm excited. He's
Awesome.
got a brand new PC. He's been streaming from his Xbox before, so
yeah, exactly.
It's going to be a world of difference.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure.
Looking forward to that.
So I'm going to help him this summer with some of the OBS stuff, I'm sure, and joining on the world of streaming from a PC. So stay tuned for the relaunch of his channel. And then Ryan, I assume you're streaming tomorrow morning, right?
Tomorrow morning.
Nice.
10:30 Eastern.
Nice. Look forward to that. And
Nice.
I'll be getting some work done on a new website that I'm building and listening in, and then I've got a meeting in the afternoon, so I'll be excited to do some of my prep work for that. And it's been fun, and I've been a moderator over at Ryan's channel now for, is it 4 years now? Something like that.
Ooh,
Something
nice.
like that. It's been a while.
Yeah, so I'm also moderator of Adrian's channel too. So there you go.
Yeah,
It's
thanks,
fun.
Robbie.
And definitely check out. We had earlier Champ with the No Spots podcast. I'm going to give him one more shout out. And thanks to Carol for coming on. It's cool to have my podcast partner of 10 seasons. I know he's been so busy these last couple of months, but great to have him back on. I'm so excited. This Friday, we are going to be live at the Defenders game. And
Cool.
Carol, myself, and Champ, all four of us that were on that first segment, are all going to get to watch the game together. We'll do some live streaming during halftime and pregame, and it'll be fun to recap that next week. Next week is going to be maybe the season finale of the Sports on the Hill podcast. It'll depend on how the Defenders do. If the Defenders are able to win a playoff game, we'll come back and do a Defenders recap and continue to talk about the NBA and NHL playoffs. Or maybe next week is it, and then it's pool time with the kids on Monday nights. So it'll be fun. I will do some pop-up streams, potentially doing some video editing and some other stuff throughout the summer. And I might have some time in the morning, depending on if the kids will let me use the studio, and they're not using it for camp.
Yeah, they're in charge now.
So
they make the rules.
they might be involved. Maybe we'll play a Pokemon stream with them. So
nice. Yeah.
Zach has
I'll
played
check that out.
Pokemon on stream before on here, so maybe we'll do that for a daytime stream as well. Use that as a reward if he's good at doing some of the other stuff for camp. And I look forward to all of those things. We'll definitely recap the Defenders. Going to the Defenders game next week. We'll recap the end of these playoff series. Probably preview at that point the upcoming finals in both the NBA and the NHL. So that'll be fun. And we will have a bunch of guests on next week as well. So you tune in for 377 next week. Thank you again, Ryan. Go check out that Eat Flat Guy on Twitch. And then also check out Adrian's channel as well, which is Ace Caltor 314 over on Twitch. And I appreciate you both. I don't think I'm going to raid tonight. I'm just going to
Peace out.
it's one of those nights. It's very rare. I think raiding is so important on Twitch. I think everyone should do it. But I also know that if I raid, then I'm going to be in another community for the next hour and not go to sleep. So I know myself well enough.
Fair enough.
We will end it tonight since it is a Tuesday. I've got to wake up early with the kids tomorrow. But thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Champ. Carol.
Thank you both.
And everybody else for tuning in and watching on the replay. Obviously on YouTube, you can check out our VODs. You can check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/SportsOTHP. We're also live on Kick as well. Thank you, everybody. We will be back next week with maybe the season finale, and we'll talk to you then. Have a good week.
Yeah.